Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto fused with tobirama power. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by BX3MM3R and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Prologue. It was dark in the village hidden in the leaf. The village was in ruins. Just a few hours prior the feared nine-tailed fox laid waste to the village. If it wouldn't have been for the efforts of the late Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, the village most certainly would have been destroyed. Sadly, this heroic act demanded a sacrifice, but it changed the course of history throughout the elemental nations. Hokage office. The office of the Hokage wasn't empty. There were two people inside of it. The first was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the retired Sandaime Hokage of Konoha and famed professor. He was a man in his late 50s, shorter than the average male and could be mistaken as your typical grandfather. But his appearance was deceiving. This man was known as the god of shinobi, trained by Tobirama Senju and a man that led Konoha through 2 shinobi world wars and made it the strongest hidden village. The other person was a tall man. Long white hair, which was held back by a headband with an inscription of oil in the center, and dressed in a red haori. This was Jiraiya the Gallant, known as the Toad Sage and member of the legendary Sannin. He was a student of the Sandaime, and in turn trained the Yondaime. He looks just like Minato, Jiraiya sadly remarked while gazing onto a sleeping toddler, who laid inside a crib. The baby had sun-kissed, spiky blonde hair, 3 whiskers on each cheeks. This was Naruto, son Minato Namikaze and his wife Kushina Uzumaki, godson of Jiraiya and the new Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. He really does, doesn't he? The old Kage responded. Poor lad, not only did Minato sacrifice his own blood to be a Jinchuriki, but he is also alone in the world. No parents to love or guide him. He isn't alone. He has me. I'm his godfather. I promised them I would take care of him. Sadly I can't take him with me. It would be too dangerous. But I know someone who will take care of him, Jiraiya said with confidence. Tsunade will raise him. Tsunade? The old Hokage was surprised. You think that she would return to the village and raise him? I don't expect her to return, but she will raise him. He is her last family, and you know how she adored Kushina. You probably will be reinstated as Hokage-sensei. You can't protect him. It would be too dangerous for him to travel with me, not to mention that I'm not suited to raise a toddler. Jiraiya replied, if he stays in the village, you will name him an orphan and I'm pretty sure his life will be a nightmare. Tsunade will show him love. You know what Lady Mito said about Jinchuriki? They need love in their life. She was a wise woman, Sarutobi replied. He knew that Naruto's life would be of hardships and he couldn't take care of him. He most likely will be reinstated as Hokage and couldn't give Naruto the attention he deserved. His old student Tsunade would be the perfect person to raise him, and it would probably help her getting over her demons. That she was. Naruto needs protection. He already looks like Minato. People will make the connection. Not to mention that he isn't just Minato's legacy. He is the last male member of both the Senju and Uzumaki clans. He is Lord Hashirama's heir, his and Lady Mito's great-great-grandson. If he stays in Konoha he will either be a no-name orphan, or be treated like God's gift to earth. Tsunade will show him love, makes him humble, and the two of us will make him a great shinobi. I own a little cottage near a small village. It's quiet and big enough for Tsunade, her apprentice and Naruto. I will grant your plan Jiraiya under the following conditions. Sarutobi replied, first I want monthly letters about him. Secondly you will visit them at the very least every 2 months. The last condition is that he returns for the last year in the academy. I want him to form bonds to this village, and his graduation class will be very promising. Jiraiya didn't need to think about the terms his sensei brought up. Naruto would have a great childhood with Tsunade, and he would be able to take care of his godson, of course sensei. But I still wonder how you will convince her to take care of him. Kushina asked her to deliver her baby, and she refused to return even for that short period of time. Jiraiya didn't respond and just picked up Naruto. The sudden movement woke up the young toddler, and Hiruzen saw how she would be convinced. Naruto smiled at elderly man with his large sapphire orbs and looked like the most precious thing in the world. The old man couldn't resist a smile at the young child, who in turn made happy noises. He knew that Tsunade couldn't say no to little Naruto, once she saw him smiling, but he wondered, why is there a small green area around Naruto pupils? And with that Jiraiya bid his farewell and took little Naruto with him, searching for Tsunade, who hopefully would take care of Naruto, but he was sure Tsunade couldn't resist his godson. Chapter 2, The First Birthday. October 10th 1 year after the Kyuubi attacked. A year later we find ourselves in Jiraiya's small cottage, where Naruto lived with Tsunade and her young student Shizen. Just like Jiraiya predicted, Tsunade was more than willing to take care of Naruto, her little Naruchan. Once Naruchan smiled at me, I couldn't resist. I owe it to him after all. If I would have been there that night, Minato and Kushina might still be alive. A beautiful woman appearing to be in her mid to late 20s said. The woman was slightly less tall than the average kunoichi. She wore a green haori with the Senju clan crest on its back and had honey-colored eyes and light blonde hair, styled into twin pigtails. She also wore pink lipstick and had a diamond-shaped tattoo on her forehead. This was Tsunade Senju, granddaughter of Hashirama and both the world's greatest medic and kunoichi. I can imagine that. I was convinced you would take him in after he smiled at me. His smile lit up my entire office, her old sensei answered. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked still the same, with the exception of the Hokage robe he once again wore. Like Jiraiya predicted, he took over after the death of his successor. The only real other option would have been his old rival Danzu. Konoha recovered relatively well. The morale was at an all-time low, but Sarutobi delivered a passionate speech the day after Jiraiya left with little Naruto. He recalled that the heroic Yondaime and his wife sacrificed their lives for the village and reminded everyone what Konoha stands for. The speech sparked the will of fire inside the villagers and shinobis. Together they pulled on one string to rebuild Konoha and they succeeded. Kumo and Iwa didn't have a chance to take advantage of the death of the Yondaime, as the shinobi of the Hidden Leaf proved once again that they were the strongest in the elemental nations. Fufu the little one will be such a heartbreaker when he gets older. I can't wait to teach him about women, Jiraiya said and probably got hit by an enraged Tsunade. You will not take my little Naruchan as inspiration, you pervert, or I will castrate you, she declared angrily. Hiruzen just sat next to them and chuckled. Just like the old times, he thought. It was Naruto's first birthday, and both Jiraiya and Hiruzen visited. Jiraiya was a given. He visited once a month and stayed for a few days, delivering money for the small family and to spend time with his godson. Sarutobi, on the other hand, was different. It was his duty to check on the heir of one of the most important clans in Konoha. It has nothing to do with the fact that he could escape paperwork, or the fact that he was his successor's son. He truly wondered how Minato and Tobirama had so much free time during their reign, or how Tobirama managed to train a team of genin, making sure his brother doesn't do something stupid, while doing his paperwork and still having time to be the playboy of village. But I have to say that I'm proud of you, Tsunade. No alcohol and no gambling for an entire year now. Naruto is truly helping you, the old man told his student. It was true. Tsunade, who used to drown in sake and gambled away her entire money, didn't do either of her two favorite activities for an entire year. Naruto was far more important to her, and the old Hokage was happy for her. Your tea, Master Hokage, a young female voice brought him out of his thoughts. The voice belonged to a girl of about 15 years old. She had medium-length black hair and wore a dark purple kimono. The girl was Shizen Kato, the niece of Tsunade's old lover Dan and the Sanin student since she left Konoha. Thank you, young one, Sarutobi told the young girl. She was a fine girl in his opinion, and was very important to the young family. She was the voice of reason in the home and was the one who made sure Tsunade wouldn't drink or gamble, even if her master wanted to do it, especially in the first months. Her little brother deserved nothing less of his caretaker than the best. At least in her mind. The four people turned their gaze towards the toddler. Nothing major changed with him, and he looked very healthy. He curiously tried to pull the mask off the young man who held him. The mentioned young man was Sarutobi Sambugard and hence was dressed in the standard attire without his mask on. He had spiky silver hair and hid one of his eyes with his hataite, while the lower half of his mask was hidden by a mask. This young man was Kakashi Hatake, the son of the White Fawn Tsukumo and the last surviving student of Naruto's father. After the death of his sensei and his wife and the supposed death of their child, his entire world crashed down. He lost the last part of his family and took the most suicidal missions after the attack of the Nine Tails. Kakashi wanted nothing more than to die, and every of Hiruzen's attempts to help the boy failed. Not even his eternal rival Might Guy could cheer the depressed boy up. Kakashi loved his sensei as a surrogate father, and Kushina was like the mother he never met, and little Naruto would have been the little brother he never had. Their deaths were the final nail into the coffer after his father killed himself. His old teammate Obito died protecting him and his other teammate Rin being killed by his Chidori. Kakashi was finished with the world. But then Sarutobi told him something that would turn his life around. Something so classified only the Hokage, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shizen and the daimyo knew. Naruto lived and was being raised by Tsunade. At first Kakashi was furious at the Sandaime. He believed that he had the right to know his sensei's son was alive, but he accepted the Hokage decision and reasoning for the secrecy. Once the Hokage decided that he would be visiting young Naruto, he immediately decided to take young Kakashi with him. Kakashi was more than happy to guard the Sandaime during his visit, as he got a chance to meet his little brother. After Kakashi laid eyes on Naruto and held him for the first time, Kakashi knew that he still had something worth living for. He promised himself to protect his sensei's son and made sure to help him achieve his dreams, whatever that dream might be. Guy would be so jealous how hip and cool his little brother would be. Kakashi, please give me my little Naruchan. It's time for his meal, Tsunade said. Of course, Lady Tsunade, replied and carefully handed the baby, much to the protest of the toddler, over to Tsunade. She took him from the young Mumbu and proceeded to lovingly feed Naruto. Fufu, you look like you enjoy motherhood, Tsunade. You know, if you want another baby, I'm more than willing to. Jiraiya was cut off by the angry glare Tsunade sent the Toad Sage. Not even in your wildest dream, you Master Tsunade. Not in front of Naruto. Shizen cut off her master before she said something not appropriate for certain eyes. Kakashi just eyes smiled at the scene, while the old Hokage shook his head. Some things will never change. The little toddler, on the other hand, was very entertained by the scene and just laughed. and made certain noises. This got the attention of Tsunade. Is my little Naruchan going to speak? Come on, say mama. Mama, exclaimed while pointing at herself. This got the attention of everybody. Everyone waited if Naruto would utter his first word. Naruto just pointed at Jiraiya and tried to speak pa, pervert, and everyone face-faulted. Jiraiya entered a state of depression as he wasn't a pervert, he was super pervert for God's sake. Tsunade and Shizen couldn't believe that the first word of their little Naruto would be pervert, while Kakashi and Hiruzen found it amusing. Never change, little brother, never change, were the thought of the young Hatake, while his superior was laughing alongside the happy noises the young toddler made. But there was something that caught his eyes. Why do the flowers bloom brighter since Naruto started to laugh? Chapter 3, The Water Prodigy. July 3rd, nearly 4 years after the Kyuubi attack. The last 2, nearly 3 years of Naruto's young life went without major accidents. He was as happy as a child could be. His big sister Shizen was as loving and stern as ever, and his big brother Kakashi was as cool as you can get. Sadly, he was only around once a year, and for some odd reason his sister always tried to take a little bit of Kakashi's attention away from him. Why couldn't she realize that Kakashi was his big brother? The yearly visits of his big brother and his surrogate grandfather were the highlight of his year. The old man always had fascinating stories about great shinobis like Tsukumo Hatake, the Senju brothers, or his father Minato Namikaze. Yes, Naruto knew who his parents are. Ero Grandpa told him on his 3rd birthday after he questioned who his father was and why he looked like the late student of the Toad Sage. After that day it made sense to him why it felt wrong to call his grandma Mom. As much as Tsunade would have liked to be called Mom by him, since he could speak he only called her grandma. At first she was a little bit depressed but remembered that her little Naruchan would forever be her little Naruchan. So what if she was only his grandmother? She would always be the mother-like figure in his life. Right now we see a nearly 4-year-old Naruto holding Shizen's hand walking towards a small pond near the Senju cottage. It was incredibly hot today, so his sister took him to the pond to cool himself off. His appearance didn't change that much. He was still a mini version of his father with 3 whisker-like lines on his cheeks. He is relatively tall for his age and wore a simple white t-shirt with a toad on the front. On his back he proudly displayed his clan's crests. A red whirlpool with Senju emblem on top of it. The only major change were 3 red lines, one on either of his cheeks and the last one on his chin. On his 3rd birthday Naruto accidentally channeled his chakra for the first time while playing tag with Kakashi and Shizen. Neither Tsunade nor the Sandaime understood why they appeared. But it was now undeniable that Naruto was Senju, spotting the same marks as his great-granduncle Tobirama. Naruto thought it made him look badass like the Nightingale. Tsunade thought they made him look adorable. Are we there yet soon? The curious voice of Naruto asked his sister. Just another minute, Naru, came her reply. But you said that already a minute ago, Naruto whined on. He didn't mean it to be rude, but a young Uzumaki/Senju child has a lot of energy to waste. Especially if he also has a massive fox made of chakra in one's tummy. Not that Naruto would know about the fox yet. Shizen didn't respond as the pond came into view. Yada! Naruto screamed while running towards the pond, discarding his clothes his way to it. Shizen could only smile and shake her head at his antics. He always had more energy than a normal child his age would have. Once he arrived he jumped straight into the pond. The pond itself wasn't that deep and Naruto was a very good swimmer. He loved being inside of water, and swimming came naturally to him. Shizen couldn't help but smile. Looks like someone is enjoying himself. The only response she got was being splashed into the face of the young blonde. Although Shizen was a little bit irritated, the sound of Naruto's laughter melted her irritation away. Naruto was just a happy kid and his laughter would infect everyone around him. Seizun, Naruto began. Water was Uncle Tobirama's element, right? Yes, Naru. Your great-uncle was the greatest water release user of all time, Shizen responded. Naruto's eyes became stars. Really? Uncle Tobi must have been super powerful. Maybe even stronger than Grandpa or Dad. Yes, he was very powerful. He was said to be as strong as his older brother was. Considering that Lord Hashirama was known as the god of shinobi, and is widely believed to be the strongest shinobi to ever live, Shizen told an excited Naruto it is even more remarkable considering that he didn't have a bloodline like his brother. Naruto was amazed at how powerful his uncle apparently was. Amazing, so he was stronger than Dad? While your dad was very powerful, without Lord Tobirama your father wouldn't have been as powerful, Shizen replied. Seeing the confused face of her little brother she continued. Lord Minato's signature technique was the Hiraishin, also known as the jutsu of the Flying Thunder God. What a cool name. Naruto was amazed how badass his father was to use a jutsu with that name. But why is Uncle Tobi important to Dad? Because your uncle invented the jutsu. Your father, however, used it to its fullest potential. Naruto's eyes couldn't become any bigger. His uncle was apparently so badass that his father, the greatest hero of Hidden Leaf, used his technique to become the legend he became. Wow, that's amazing. Seizun, do you think I could learn to become as cool and strong as Uncle Tobi? Naruto asked. Of course, Naru. If you work hard enough, you can achieve anything, she replied. Really? Naruto asked, and seeing Shizen nodding continued. Then I will work harder than anyone. One day I will learn how to use the Hiraishin and I'm going to a greater shinobi than anyone before. Just believe it! Naruto proclaimed while busting his fist towards Shizen. Shizen was speechless. Not just because of the proclamation made by Naruto but because of another thing. Why did water flow around Naruto's arm? Naruto's reaction was a little bit different. What the? Language Naru, July 5th. A few days later. So Naruto's affinity to water might rival you, uncle? Jiraiya just arrived a few minutes earlier for his monthly visit. To say he was shocked that his godson affinity to water was apparently that strong would be an understatement. That's what Shizen said. I believe he lacks control over it though. It never happened before that day. Tsunade's initial reaction was the same as Jiraiya's, but she couldn't be any prouder. Naruto proved to be a true senju and worthy heir to the most powerful clan in history. Not being able to control it might be dangerous. Tsunade, what do you suggest? We going to start his training? I know we plan to wait till his 5th birthday, but his affinity might be dangerous if he can't control it. We won't do anything major, just basic chakra control exercises and the basics to water transformation, Jiraiya replied. While Tsunade doesn't like the idea of starting his training early, she agreed with Jiraiya. If they would leave his affinity untrained, he could become a danger to himself and those around him. So she silently agreed with her old teammate. Jiraiya didn't wait for her response and headed towards his godson, who was in the garden. He found him taking care of some flowers Shizen planted upon moving into the cottage. To say that Naruto had a green thumb would be an understatement. Arrow Grandpa! Naruto shouted and ran towards his godfather, who in turn chuckled at the nickname. He definitely takes after Kushina. Jiraiya thought back to the redhead who called him Arrow Senin. How are you, brat? I heard about the pond. You did? It was really scary, Arrow Grandpa. Water isn't supposed to do that, isn't it? The curious blonde asked Jiraiya. No, it isn't, but I know why it reacted that way. You do? Tell me. Tell me. Well, your grandma and I believe that your affinity to water transformation is comparable to your uncle Tobirama's. It is. I always knew that. I'm awesome, Arrow Grandpa. Jiraiya just chuckled at his response. Yeah, you are. But after this day I expect you to call me Sensei Naruto. After noticing the confused look on Naruto's face, he continued, starting with tomorrow, your shinobi training begins. You will train me? Of course I will. I trained your father, so of course I will train you too. And I make sure that you will surpass your father Minato. And Uncle Tobi? Albeit confused that Naruto apparently wanted to surpass his grand uncle, he replied, of course, my boy. I make you stronger than our esteemed knighting. Naruto couldn't contain his smile. Tomorrow his journey as shinobi would begin, and he would become a greater shinobi than his father, his grandfather, or his grand uncle. I won't disappoint you, sensei. And Jiraiya knew that his new student wouldn't. Considering how smart Naruto and how much energy he had, he will easily become a student worthy of Jiraiya the Gallant. He is going to be a joy to train, and hopefully he will become a goldmine like Minato was. He attracted so much attention worthy of proper research. The old man thought lecherously, but also wondered, is it just me, or did his flowers start to bloom greater? Must be my imagination. Chapter 4, The Big Dream. The following year of Naruto's life were, despite his new training, rather quiet. Jiraiya kept his promise to Naruto and started to train him in the arts of the shinobi. And in the following 15 months, Naruto learned a great amount of chakra control and had all basics down when it came to water release. One might think that his training was easy. After all, he had not one but two Sannin to help him on top of a Chunin level kunoichi. What could possibly go wrong? At first Tsunade insisted on Naruto learning the basics in theory first, not wanting to stress his young body more than needed. Jiraiya actually agreed with her on that part. So at first he tried to teach Naruto the theory about chakra control and nature transformation. Well, there was one small issue with this. Naruto absolutely despises sitting still. Naruto was always a child full of energy, so sitting still was something he despised. Add the naturally large chakra reserves and a being made of pure chakra into the mix, and you have big problem. Both Sannin didn't want to stress Naruto's still developing chakra coins too much. Water transformation could harm them in the long run, especially since Naruto was still so young. But the solution was quite simple, and it came from the professor. After receiving a letter about the situation, the Hokage advised them to just start practical training. His reasoning was quite simple. Naruto had the body of a senju, possessed the healing capabilities of the Kyuubi, and Tsunade was the greatest medic in the world, and it paid off. Naruto was natural when it came to training. He worked incredibly hard and never gave up on learning something. Although Naruto showed difficulties with exercises like tree walking, he worked himself into the ground and didn't quit till he learned it. It made Jiraiya proud that his newest student would have the guts to never give up. On top of that, Naruto was incredibly talented in the ninja arts. He learned incredibly fast, if he put his mind onto it. And his chakra coins recovered at such a quick rate that there would be no lasting damage be done to them. Once his 5th birthday was only a few weeks ago, Naruto mastered all of the basics when it came to water transformation. Although Naruto wanted to start learning cool water jutsus, Jiraiya had other plans for him. His birthday would mark the day he would start training his physical abilities, including the most basic of the Senju clan's taijutsu style. October 10th, 5 years after the Nine Tails attacked. It was the day of Naruto's 5th birthday, and like every year his big brother Kakashi and Grandpa Hokage would be visiting. He couldn't wait to show Kakashi how well he could walk on trees. For some odd reason he wanted Kakashi to recognize him as cool and hip. Once outside of his bed he saw his flowers. He took great pride in his gardening skills. His big sister and grandma still wonder how someone as young as he could be so good with plants. There was one incident during the last year that showed how skilled he was. He remembers waking up after a nightmare and seeing his plants being in a very bad condition, and him crying made their condition even worse, and neither Tsunade nor Shizen could do something about it. But after a lot of tears, Naruto remembered a quote his grandma told him. It was from his uncle Tobirama: "It's okay to fail, as long as you tried." So Naruto, not having attempted to solve his problem by himself, tried to save his plants. And with great care and a lot of dedication, Naruto somehow brought his flowers back to life. Neither Shizen nor Tsunade or Jiraiya understood how, but Naruto did it, and his plants were healthier than ever. And for some odd reason, the entire garden seemed to be even healthier after the whole ordeal. After dressing himself, Naruto quickly left the room to meet his grandma, big sister, and sensei. Jiraiya arrived the day before, battered and bruised. At first Tsunade was shocked and concerned for her former teammate. After Jiraiya told her how he got injured, she knew he was lying. There was no way Jiraiya fought 3 bears while saving a young girl from her burning home. It took little Naruto to ask his grandma to heal his perverted sensei. She couldn't say no to her little Naruchan, but she really wanted to know who taught him that cursed puppy Ijutsu. Jiraiya just gave his godson a thumbs up and happy proclamation that his student would become quite the lady killer, which earned himself a punch from Tsunade. Of course Naruto was curious who could hurt his sensei so badly. Jiraiya was after all one of the strongest shinobi in the world. Jiraiya just nervously chuckled and claimed that it didn't matter, and that he had no reason to worry. The young Uzumaki could swear that he heard his sensei mutter something like "Nade" something under his breath, but it didn't matter to him. Once he entered the kitchen he was greeted by a happy birthday by his family. Breakfast was the usual if Jiraiya was home. Naruto was bugging his sensei about stories of his heroes and when they would start his training. After breakfast Jiraiya decided, after a lot of questions when they could use the morning to start his taijutsu training till Kakashi arrived with his sensei. I mean, it won't be more than a few simple kata, Jiraiya thought at first. Sadly he forgot how fast his student learned. October 10th later that day, and Naruto learned quickly. As a matter of fact he learned in all the katas Jiraiya intended to teach him in his first week, within the morning. Once the Hokage arrived shortly after lunchtime, Naruto already knew how to perform the katas of the basic senju style. The Sandaime always knew that Naruto's potential was incredibly big, but the speed he picked up things was ridiculous. Kakashi himself couldn't be any prouder of his little brother. "You would be proud, sensei," ran through the mind of the copycat ninja after he saw his little brother effortlessly sticking onto a tree. Guy would be so jealous. Considering that it was his birthday, Tsunade prepared her grandson's favorite food in the world, ramen, or like Naruto called it, the food of gods. Yes, Naruto was addicted to ramen, just like his mother Kushina was and just like his great-great-grandmother Mito was. Who would have thought that a noble lady like Mito was addicted to a simple food like ramen? It had to be something in the DNA of Uzumakis. Naruto treasured the few times he got to eat his favorite food. Tsunade knew that ramen wasn't the healthiest of foods for a growing child, so Naruto's diet rarely included it. It really irked Naruto that his grandma rarely allowed him to indulge in the foods of gods, but forced him to eat the abomination that were vegetables. Yes, Naruto Senju, the child that loves flowers, trees and plants in general, absolutely hates veggies. Shizen once pointed out this ironic fact to her little brother. "Veggies are the only evil plant," was his response. Leave it to Naruto to qualify vegetables as more evil than any lethal poisonous plants. After the Sandaime got the knowledge that his surrogate grandson was addicted to ramen, he promised the young Senju to take him to his mother's favorite ramen bar once he lived in Konoha. Naruto couldn't wait to visit the place. If his mother loved the ramen of the bar, it had to be the best ramen in the world. Back in Konoha, the old ramen chef Tuchi felt that in a not-so-distant future, he would get a customer who loved his ramen as much as Lady Kushina did. He hoped his daughter Ayame and he were ready for that day. Launch was a rather joyful activity today. Sarutobi told the young blonde a story about his great-great-grandfather Hashirama, while Kakashi was listening half-heartedly. He would prefer reading his new Ika Ika book, but Tsunade would probably pummel him for doing so. Jiraiya was perversely giggling at the fact that Shizen stole glances towards the Umbu and was blushing slightly, while Tsunade scowled at her teammate. After launch the Sandaime wanted to inspect the growth Naruto experienced as a shinobi. As much as the old man hated to see his grandson as a kind of weapon, Naruto was still a Jinchuriki, and despite his existence being a secret, he would become an integral part of Konoha's military strength. To say that he was shocked at Naruto's growth was an understatement. He received a letter every month about Naruto's growth both as a person and as a shinobi, but he didn't take Tsunade's letter seriously enough. He believed her to exaggerate Naruto's growth, labeling it as words from a proud grandmother. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, there was no doubt in his mind that Naruto might have more talent than the leaf prodigies like Kakashi, Orochimaru, young Itachi Uchiha, and Naruto's own father Minato. So he asked Naruto a question that would define his character for the rest of his life. "What is your dream, my boy?" This made the rest of adults pause. Naruto always said that he would become the greatest shinobi in the world, but he never said that it was his dream. Tsunade only hoped that he didn't dream of becoming Hokage. She knew how much Naruto adored and wanted to be like her grandfather. She knew that his father was his hero, and he knew that he wanted to surpass her granduncle. But sadly for her, her hopes would be crushed. "I'm aiming for your hat, old man," Naruto answered confidently. "I'm going to become the greatest Hokage ever, just believe in me." While saying that, Naruto's gaze was turned towards the sky, hoping his relatives would watch him surpassing them. Shizen couldn't believe what she heard. She heard those words by one other person, her late Uncle Dan. That a young child like Naruto would dream of becoming Hokage wasn't unusual. It was the confidence he told them of his dream that surprised her, and she promised herself to always root for him to achieve his dream. Kakashi's thoughts were little different. If Kakashi wouldn't know it any better, he would bet his entire Ika collection on the fact that a child version of his sensei was standing in front of him. "He dreams just as big as you did, sensei. I promise I will do everything that I can to make sure his dream becomes a reality." Of course he would dream as big as you did, Minato. "The brat is truly yours and Kushina's son. Jiraiya the gallant, sensei of 2 Hokages, has a nice ring to it. I'm going to become so popular with the ladies, Fufu," the Toad Sage thought, "although I wouldn't expect anything less from my most gifted student. But I wonder, old friend, if you were right about your son being the child I was searching for." The Sandaime just smiled at the blonde. He expected nothing less from the young Senju. Senjus always tend to dream big, and being Hokage was in Naruto's blood. What did surprise him was the way Naruto proclaimed it. Such conviction that he would become Hokage was unusual by someone as young. He imagined Minato proudly standing behind his son, his hands on his son's shoulder, while his late sensei and Lord Hashirama standing on either side of Naruto. There was no doubt in Sarutobi's mind that Naruto would achieve his dream. Tsunade was more conflicted. She dreaded the thought of her little Naruchan dreaming of becoming Hokage. Her grandfather died while being Hokage, her granduncle died as Hokage, her little brother Nawaki died pursuing his dream to become Hokage, as did her fiancé Dan. Not to mention that Naruto's own father died protecting his village as Hokage. That position was cursed. Despite that, she could swear that she was seeing ghosts. She could swear she saw her grandparents, her granduncle and brother Nawaki, alongside her beloved Dan, Kushina and Minato proudly standing behind Naruto. It was like they were trying to tell her to believe in her little Naruchan, the last hope of the Senju clan. "So you want to become Hokage, Naruchan?" Tsunade began while moving towards him. "I guess it's only fitting for you that I give you this," she continued while removing the necklace of her grandfather. Neither Jiraiya nor Hiruzen could believe it, while Shizen's eyes couldn't be any larger. Tsunade kneeled in front of her grandson and put the necklace around Naruto's neck. "This necklace once belonged to my grandfather Hashirama. I hope this will bring you luck to achieve your dream. I believe you will become a great Hokage one day." Tsunade finished before kissing his forehead. She promised herself that Naruto would achieve his dream and wouldn't go down like Nawaki or Dan did. Naruto just grinned at his loving grandmother. "I won't let you down, Grandma. I promise you that I will be the greatest Hokage ever," he stated before wondering why the adults around him looked like he grew a second head. Jiraiya and Tsunade just looked behind him, either one finding their voice to speak. Shizen couldn't help but slap her hands in front of her mouth. Now it makes sense why her little brother was so gifted with plants. Kakashi's visible eye widened to a level never seen before. He knew his little brother was special, but this is an overkill even for Naruto. Just like Tenzo, the Sandaime however wasn't as surprised. He always suspected it. Now it made sense why there was a little bit of green in Naruto's eyes, or why the flowers bloom brighter if he is happy. There was no doubt in his mind that Naruto had it. While gazing at the small tree that just appeared behind Naruto, Hiruzen found his voice to utter a single word, wood style. Chapter 5, The First Friend. October 10th, Naruto's 6th birthday. Another year has passed, and it was as uneventful as ever. Well, for most of the year. After discovering that Naruto had the famed bloodline of the Shodaime, would release, the adults were a little bit worried for the young blonde. The Hokage and his students knew how dangerous it was for Naruto to have his ancestors' bloodline. Would release is widely considered to be one, if not the strongest bloodline in the history of the shinobi world. If people like the old warhawk Danzo or worse the rogue Sannin Orochimaru found out that Naruto not only existed but also possessed the famed bloodline, one could only imagine how dangerous the situation for Naruto was if his existence were discovered, not considering Iwagakure and Kumogakure, or that group Jiraiya discovered. Both Kakashi and Shizen were also worried for the young blonde. Both saw Naruto as their little brother, and wanted him to be safe. Kakashi was especially worried for Iwa. Naruto would have a death mark on him simply because he was his sensei's son. Would release would only put a larger target onto his back. Naruto had a different reaction to his bloodline than his family did. He was even more awesome than he thought. Not only was he an Uzumaki and had a water affinity comparable to his uncle Tobirama's, he also had something that connected him to his grandpa Hashirama. He was going to become the greatest Hokage, and nothing could change his mind about that. Naruto couldn't wait to start his training to master wood release, just to have his dreams crushed. His surrogate grandfather absolutely forbade him to use his bloodline unless it was an emergency. They didn't know if him using the bloodline could be felt outside of the barrier Jiraiya constructed around the cottage 5 years ago, or how dangerous it was for Naruto to use it while being so young. His bloodline proved itself to be far more potent than a certain Umbu's was. Naruto had to wait till he moved to Konoha to start training his wood release. At first the young Uzumaki was sad. Sad and angry. Why couldn't the old man understand that his bloodline was a part of him? Why couldn't he learn how to use it to become Hokage? Was he so scared that he would take the hat from him? But the professor wasn't finished as he instructed Jiraiya something. Something that made all the anger Naruto had towards Hiruzen disappear instantly. He commanded the Toad Sage, much to the complaint of Tsunade and Shizen, to increase Naruto's training. He was to learn how to use Genjutsu, Taijutsu and basic ninjutsu. Nothing was prohibited now. Naruto needed to be strong to protect himself. Safe to say Naruto improved at an incredible rate. Let's just say that if he were in Konoha and would have attended the academy early, there is a good chance at him being able to graduate already. He truly improved far more than I expected. You outdid yourself, Jiraiya, the old man Hokage told his former student. He currently was sitting with his 2 old students on the veranda of Tsunade's cottage watching the young blonde sparring with Kakashi. Well, he is probably even more talented than Minato was and his dedication matches Kushina's, the Toad Sage replied, not to mention how good of a teacher I am. Jiraiya, the teacher of 2 Hokages, has a nice ring to it. He might have been able to graduate by now, if we would have been in Konoha. Absolutely not, Tsunade cut in. My little Naruchan is going to graduate when he is 13. We aren't at war, so there is no reason to cut his childhood shorter than it already is. Of course, Tsunade. I believe Jiraiya just wanted to point out that Naruto is a prodigy. But there is something I do wonder, her old sensei answered while gazing towards a tree where Shizen and another figure watched Kakashi and Naruto spar. How come that when I arrived another child would be here? The child in question was a young girl of around Naruto's age. She had medium black hair with 2 bangs framing her face with chocolate brown eyes. She wore a simple short blue kimono. Despite her young age, one could predict that she would one day become quite the beauty. She currently sat beside Shizen, a book about medical herbs in her lap, from where the two watched how Kakashi played with Naruto. You couldn't call it anything else since Kakashi had his trusty orange book in one hand and the other one in his pants. The young Umbu didn't even try. Despite that, the young girl still rooted for her first and only friend, her own personal son that was called Naruto. This was Haku of the Yuki clan, an orphan from the land of water and victim of bloodline purges. Tsunade just pointedly looked at her old teammates, who chuckled nervously. Well, it happened around 2 months ago, Sensei. The Toad Sage started his tale. Flashback August 2nd, Edges of the Land of Water, a tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. We find our lovable pervert in the snowy outskirts of the Land of Water. Now you might ask yourself, why the famed shinobi was on the outskirts of this country. The answer is relatively simple. The Yandere Mizukage Yugura. According to his contacts, the young Mizukage was getting worse every single day, and his contact was right. Yugura was becoming a bigger tyrant every single day. He wondered how this young man, a young man his sensei and him believed to be able to change the course of the village Hidden Mist, both hoped for an end of the Bloody Mist era and a potential ally against the Wagakure and Kumogakure. But both were wrong, and Yugura, shortly after his initiation, became even worse than the Sandane Mizukage. He began to mistreat the civil part of his village, made the bloodline users a scapegoat for any of the problems Kiri had, which reinforced the hatred towards those with one. All in all, he was a tyrant. As a matter of fact, the biggest tyrant in the history of the elemental nations. And that man is paranoid. If anyone but Jiraiya would have attempted to infiltrate the village, they would have been easily captured. But then again, he was the legendary Toad Sage. There wasn't a village he couldn't infiltrate. Now getting outside of the village was far more difficult. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the Hidden Mist, a member of the legendary 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, tried to assassinate the Mizukage. If he would have known of that plot, Jiraiya might have assisted the assassin in his mission. But then the question would be, if Zabuza, a man that killed off an entire class of graduating students by himself, would be a better choice at Mizukage? Well, after Zabuza failed and somehow escaped the village, security was increased by 10-fold. If it weren't for his toads, the Sannin would most certainly be caught. So after getting outside of Kiri, Jiraiya decided to head north, take a boat to the Land of Fire and visit his student. He wondered how far the little guy would have gotten with this new jutsu he taught him. He didn't expect Naruto to be able to use the jutsu, but it was Naruto, and nothing is impossible for the young blonde. Now you might wonder why the old man was heading north, and not towards a port in the south? Well, the official answer was that Jiraiya would have a safer passage from that port. The real reason was more Jiraiya-like. On the way to the port was a vacation spot with a hot spring, and in his mind he more than deserved some research. Well, his visit was what you would expect. He arrived, he peeked, he got discovered, and he ran away. Nothing unusual. And this is where we're currently in our story. Thank God I got away. That was way too close for comfort. Maybe I should have gotten hit. I bet Tsunade would have loved to hear my story of how I rescued a girl from some pedophiles. The old pervert thought somewhat lecherously. He didn't know that he would do exactly that. He currently was in the port city on his way to board his ship to the Land of Fire when his sharp shinobi sense picked something worrisome up in that side street. He picked up the soft cries of a young girl. That was something that made the Toad Sage's blood boil. There was nothing more that he despised than child abusers. So his mind was made up and went to investigate the cries, and what he saw at the end of the street made the Toad Sage angry. A small, malnourished girl was pushed into a corner, while staring at two slimy men with a mixed look of fear and hopelessness. She definitely is going to bring a large sum for the boss, the smaller one of the two men said. You think Gato is going to let us have some fun with her when she is a little older? I will gladly help to train her, the other continued while chuckling menacingly. But that was the last thing he did as Jiraiya snapped his neck from behind. Before his fellow thug could even utter a word, the sage rammed a kunai through his neck. Both men were instantly dead. The girl, despite being saved by the strange-looking man, was even more scared now. Jiraiya turned his attention to the young girl. She looked to be living on the street. Her far too large shirt was dirty, and her old pants had several holes. Once he saw how she looked at him, he regretted how he handled the thugs. I lowered himself to her level while smiling at her. Are you alright? There was no response from her. Of course, he thought, she is scared of me. It's okay, girl. I'm not going to hurt you. You are safe now. The only response he got was the growling of her stomach. Of course. The poor girl must have not eaten in days. The Toad Sage pulled out some bread he bought earlier and offered it to her. You might be hungry. Here, take some from me. The young girl was still scared of the tall man. How could she not be? He straight up killed the two men that bothered her. But the kind smile the man gave her reminded her of that man, at least before he thought of her as a monster. In the end her stomach won the inner debate and she took the offered food. It tasted heavily. Of course it did. The last time she didn't have something that wasn't from a garbage can was around 2 weeks ago. After she finished she looked at the old man, who still smiled at her. Maybe she could trust him. Thank you, sir. Her tiny voice thanked Jiraiya. You're welcome, little one, he replied. So what is your name, girl? Jiraiya kindly asked. Haku, the now named Haku replied. Hello, Haku. My name is Jiraiya the Gallant. So tell me, what does a small girl like you do in an area like this? Shouldn't you be with parents? He asked her. Jiraiya guessed that she was an orphan, but you never knew. They're dead, sir, Haku answered in a sad word. I'm all alone now. And you don't have anyone else? No response came from her and Jiraiya got his answer. She was definitely an orphan and was all alone in the world. He felt for her, he truly did. After all, Jiraiya knew how it was growing up without parents. The world was a cruel place, and even if I did have someone, no one would want a monster like me. She looked like there wasn't any hope left for her. A monster with cursed blood like mine, she continued while tearing up. Jiraiya knew what she meant with cursed blood. She has a bloodline, and everything made sense to him. But then a certain thought hit his mind. Naruto could have been like her, if Tsunade hadn't taken him in, he shockingly thought. He made the only sensible thing he could do in his mind. He pulled the poor girl in a hug. And Haku, after the initial shock, let the tears flow. You aren't a monster, my girl, Jiraiya soothingly said in her ear. You are a special girl. I am? Yes. So what can you do that made people consider you a monster? The Sannin kindly asked. I can turn water into ice, came her reply. Jiraiya couldn't believe it. He thought that the Yuki clan died out during the Third World War, and now he found a young girl possessing the old bloodline. You are even more special than I thought, Haku. You have the ice release, a bloodline that once belonged to the Yuki clan, Jiraiya answered. I have a clan. A family that can do what I can, she asked with some excitement and hope. Maybe she had a family left, a family that didn't think of her as a monster. Sadly they died out during the last war, Jiraiya answered her sadly, hating to crush her hopes. Seeing how her face fell, the sage quickly continued, but don't worry. I'm not going to let you be alone. I'm a shinobi from Kanehigakure. It's a shinobi village located in the Land of Fire. Why don't you come with me? He asked her. Jiraiya saw how Naruto could have been if he would have ran away from his duties as a godfather. I can train you to become a ninja if you want. Haku couldn't believe it. This man saved her from being kidnapped, gave her food, reassured her that she wasn't a monster, and now asked her to accompany him. She broke down crying tears of joy. I go with you, Master Jiraiya. Thank you? Thank you so much. Jiraiya just smiled at her. Let her cry her tears of joy. He didn't intend her to accompany him. It would be too dangerous to take her alone. But he also didn't plan to take her to Konoha. He planned to take her to Tsunade. He was sure to be able to convince his former teammate to take care of the young Yuki. Tsunade would take pity in the girl. If that alone wouldn't convince the slug Sannin, Haku would also serve as a friend for Naruto. Tsunade expressed her worries that Naruto didn't have someone around his age to play with. Come, Haku. We have to catch a ship to the Land of Fire. We should be going. Haku happily smiled and nodded. With that, the old man and the young girl walked towards the port, intending to board the ship. Her new life will start today, a life where she would prove that she wasn't a monster. Unknown to the two, a large man with a butcher knife-like sword watched the pair move towards the port. Zabuza Momochi of course recognized the Toad Sage. He was kinda mad that Jiraiya got to the girl first, a girl with similar eyes to his. He became even madder when he realized that the girl had the rare ice-release bloodline. She could have been a fine tool for him, but Zabuza was no fool. Jiraiya of the Sannin was widely considered to be one, if not the strongest shinobi in the world right now. He had not a chance at defeating the man and taking the girl for himself, especially after he failed his assassination attempt on that bastard Yagura. So he let them leave, the small human part of the demon hoped that the girl would have a happier life than him. Shaking his head to banish his weakness away, the weakness, caused by a certain auburn-haired beauty, that made him try the coup. He had to meet up with Aim Yuri and Raiga to plan their next moves. Back in the present, after we arrived in the county, I immediately brought her here. Jiraiya finished his tale. He remembers how the young girl was sad and a little bit angry at him, after he told her that his old teammate Tsunade would watch over her. But after he told her about his godson, someone who also had a bloodline like her, she brightened up at the chance to meet someone with the same burden as her. I didn't expect you to take another child in your care, Tsunade. But I must admit that motherhood serves you, my dear, Sarutobi stated. The young girl was a true sweetheart, that he could already tell with his limited experience with her. He still remembers Haku clutching onto Naruto when he and Kakashi arrived. Blamed the pervert for that. He played on the fact that Naruto made me soft. And it's not like I could turn her away. Leave her with Jiraiya and the girl would be scarred for life, Tsunade answered her sensei. She also ignored her former teammates rambling about no respect, and the fact that he was super pervert. And in the village there's no telling what your former teammates would try to do with a bloodline like hers. Sarutobi just nodded. His teammates didn't share his pacifistic views. He was sure that they would support Danzo, who surely would try to turn the young girl into an emotionless weapon. He smiled at the scene in front of him. Naruto was getting frustrated that Kakashi wouldn't take him seriously in their spar. He also noticed the book in Haku's lap, Medical Herbs. Is she interested in medical ninjutsu? Yes. After I healed a bruise of Jiraiya, she asked me if I could teach her that. I agreed. I can't let the pervert be in charge of her training. There is no saying what he might try, Tsunade told her sensei, while ignoring the semi-hurt look Jiraiya sent her, just because he giggled perversely at the possible research he could do on his student and Haku. He would of course wait till they were older. Who did Tsunade think he was? Orochimaru? That's a good idea, Tsunade. The Yuki clan naturally have great chakra control, and maybe you can train a kunoichi, who can one day take your place as an idol for young hopeful girls, the old man answered. By now Kakashi and Naruto finished their spar. Naruto couldn't even hit Kakashi a single time. To make matters worse, his sister Shizen, with a slight blush on her face, fussed over Kakashi, asking him if he was hurt. I might be hurt too, you know, Naruto thought with jealousy. It's not good to be jealous, Naruto. Haku's voice brought him out of his thoughts. It's not that, Haku, Naruto answered. Kakashi is my big brother, not Tsun's. Era, am I not enough for you? Haku teased him in a fake sad voice. No. You're the best, Haku. My first real friend, he answered quickly. Come, Naruto. Haku started while taking her book off her lap, making place for his head. You earned some rest. Naruto moved over to Haku, dropping his head onto her leg and sighing happily when Haku started to run her hands through his hair. Jiraiya was right. Lap pillows truly felt like heaven. Medical herbs? Naruto asked his friend. You want to become a medic like Grandma? Someone has to take care of your injuries when you are Hokage. I'm sure that you will become a great medic, Haku. The greatest medic in the world like Grandma. I hope so, Naruto. Haku happily voiced her thoughts. Naruto was her personal son. He brought her out of the depression she felt after Master Jiraiya left her in Master Tsunade's care. Her thoughts turned to kind yet stern Sannin and her kind and helpful student. Both were nice to her, as nice as her mother had been. While she turned her gaze towards the Senju cottage, there were only 3 words on her mind. I am home. Chapter 6. The Two Descendants. June 13th, nearly 8 years after the Kyuubi attacked. The past 8 months were a blast for both Haku and Naruto. The young blonde never had a friend his age. With Haku around, he finally had someone to play with. Never in his life was he happier. And it truly showed itself in the garden of the Senju cottage. It literally was a paradise. Haku felt the same as the Senju heir did. Despite living in a small village, she was by far the youngest child there. Not that she wanted to be reminded of that place, but living with Tsunade and Shizen made her forget about those times. At first, her relationship with Tsunade was a little cold compared to the one she had with both Shizen and Jiraiya. It was strictly a student-teacher relationship. Well, that was until Haku proved herself to be a genius in the art of medical ninjutsu, and her opening up about her past. After Tsunade heard how her father killed her mother, and how Haku in turn killed him in self-defense, Tsunade let her wall crumble. She already had Naruto in her life. Maybe having a daughter in Haku wouldn't be so bad. So who's first? Naruto asked. You, of course, Naruto. After all, you are the youngest here, Haku teased the young blonde. It always bugged Naruto that Haku was nearly a year older than him. And boy did Haku tease him about it. She got you there, Naruto, a cold voice added his 2 cents. You are just as old as I am, came Naruto's reply. If anything, Haku is first. She is the only one who is 8. Yeah, but you're also the only one not born in the land of water here. Not to mention that his birthday is the day after tomorrow. After that you're the only one who's 7. I agree with her on that too, Naruto. Damn you, Kimimaro. We boys should stick together. At that statement Haku just giggled at Naruto's reaction while the newest member of the group, Kimimaro, just stared blankly at him, and that was just a completely normal reaction from the boy. He just didn't talk or express his feelings very often. Kimimaro was a boy around Naruto's age and taller than Naruto, which was quite the achievement considering how tall Naruto was for his age. He had shoulder-length white hair, pale skin and vivid green eyes. The most eye-catching of his features were 2 red dots on his forehead. He currently wore a simple white, short-sleeved shirt and simple black shinobi pants. The boy was one, if not the last surviving member of the Kagaya clan. The Kagaya clan were a savage and battle-hungry clan located in the Land of Water. A select few members possessed their bloodline, known as Dead Bone Pulse. It lets those gifted with it produce and break down their own bones, as well as manipulate them. It was a bloodline limit feared not only across the elemental nations, but also among the Kagaya clan themselves. As a wielder of the bloodline, Kimimaro shared the same fate as the other users had. They were locked away, only released if the clan needed them to kill. For some odd reason the savage clan decided to attack Kirigakure, and Kimimaro was released to kill. Considering that the Kagaya underestimated their enemy, and the hated Kirigakure had for bloodline users, they were slaughtered till the last child. Kimimaro was the only survivor, escaping at the first chance he got. He didn't plan to die for the clan that mistreated him. He would be free. Ironic, isn't it, that a child, feared by his own clan for his bloodline, was actually the gentlest soul. Kimimaro had luck as he ran straight in the arms of Jiraiya. He was once again in the country to confirm the rumors about a resistance forming with the intent to remove Yagura from power. Sadly he didn't have any luck in discovering them. That's when he ran into the young Kagaya. Jiraiya immediately recognized the young boy as one. The dots were a dead giveaway. So he must be a survivor, huh? Deciding to be friendly, the sage kindly asked, "Hello my boy. Isn't it dangerous to be all alone in the forest?" No answer. Just a blank stare as an answer. But Jiraiya recognized the look in his eyes. First Haku, now this child. What is it with this country and children feeling hopeless, thought the pervert. Tsunade is going to kill me, but I can't really let him be alone. Imagine someone like Orochimaru getting his hands on him. You know a forest isn't a place for a child to be alone. If you want I can take you somewhere more safe, giving you a new home. After a short moment of silence, Jiraiya continued, my time is limited you know. If you want you can come with me. With that being said Jiraiya went on his way till he heard the voice of the boy for the first time. You're not going to lock me inside a cage like an animal? Dead Bone Pulse. How interesting. If he is like the rest of his clan, Tsunade is going to kill me for bringing someone so dangerous to her to raise. But those eyes. Jiraiya turned his head over his shoulder. Why should I? I don't see an animal. Just a young boy that could need some help, he finished and continued on his way. As he heard the tiny footsteps running behind him to catch up, he just hoped that he wasn't like the rest of his clan. But his fears vanished rather quickly as the young boy shyly looked at him and introduced himself. My name is Kimimaro, sir. Kimimaro of the Kagaya clan. I recognized your marks immediately. Well kid, I'm Jiraiya, the legendary Sannin? Oh, you heard of me? The one and only. Kimimaro couldn't believe it. He gained his freedom, met a legendary shinobi like Jiraiya, who wasn't afraid of him and would be taken to a new home. This was the best day of his life. But he was scared that Jiraiya would leave him, or that it would only be a dream and he would awake in his cell. Kimimaro clutched on Jiraiya's hands. While Jiraiya raised an eyebrow at this, he figured that the boy was scarred. At this moment he knew that Kimimaro wasn't like the rest of his peers. He was a polite, shy and sweet young boy. Hopefully Tsunade did see this too, and she did. At first she was a little bit worried that the young boy would be a danger to her children, but after he politely introduced himself, she decided to at least give him a chance. After he lived there for a week, both Tsunade and Shizen adored the shy and quiet boy. He always helped in the household and always tried to make himself useful. He was a true sweetheart. Now Naruto and Haku immediately took a liking to the white-haired boy. Naruto bonded with him due to Kimimaro's love of plants, and Haku could understand the pain he felt. Although his bloodline scarred Haku a little bit, Naruto thought it to be the coolest thing in the world. There was one incident where Kimimaro showed the savageness that was part of his blood. During a spar with Naruto against Jiraiya, the old man was a little rough to the young blonde. Now Kimimaro became highly protective of both Naruto and Haku and fell into some kind of blood rush. He saw red and wanted to hurt the Toad Sage. Thankfully both Naruto and Haku could calm him down. But back to the present. Naruto pouted at the other boy. He should be on his side, damn it. Is Naruto angry at Kimimaro? Haku loved to tease her first friend. He was just so cute if he blushed. That's not it, Naruto stuttered with a blush. It's just that I thought that he would be on my side. I mean, girls are kinda weird. So I'm weird? Haku asked with irritation. No, of course not, Naruto hastily replied. Kimimaro just stood beside the scene, wondering why his two friends were so weird. It's just the only other girl I met that was about our age also blushed a lot. And she was stuttering a lot. Other girl? Kimimaro asked. Haku was also curious. Who was the other girl in Naruto's life? I only met her once. It was even before I even met you, Haku. Grandma, Zune and I were at Daimyo's palace. I was bored, so I walked around in the garden. This girl, she had really weird eyes, was harassed by 3 older boys. I just stepped in to stop them. After that she just stammered her thanks and apologized how she was as weak as her father thought she was. She seemed to be really down but cheered up after I told her that you're only as weak as you choose to be. You're only as weak as you choose to be. That sounds too smart to come from you. Who said that, Naruto? Kimimaro asked his friend. Uncle Toby, of course. Anyway, after that I heard Zune searching for me. So we split off. Do you remember her name? Not really, Kimimaro. I think it was Hai something. Haku was kinda down hearing how he saved another girl. Despite feeling proud for what he did, her stomach was acting weird. Why couldn't he have saved her instead? I guess our little hero needs a small reward. Of who do call little Haku? I'm tall. Naruto went completely red as an equally red Haku kissed his cheek. While Kimimaro once again asked himself why his friends were so weird, a certain author was chuckling perversely from the roof of the cottage. Despite your young age, you are a goldmine, my boy. Oh Minato, you would be so proud, the man thought while taking notes in his notebook. What are you doing, Jiraiya? And he knew he was in trouble. Well, I'm Tsunade. He knew it was over. Tsunade stood right beside him, cracking her knuckles and looked at him menacingly. It was beating Jiraiya would never forget. Chapter 7, The Two Jinchuriki. April 2nd, 11 years after the Nine Tails attacked Tanzaku Town. Nearly 3 years have passed since Kimimaro joined the gang. A lot of things have changed, but just as many remain the same. Let's start with our newest protagonist, shall we? Kimimaro grew as a character. He was still a quiet boy who rarely talked and really polite, but he most certainly lost his shyness. Instead he became really blunt, calmly pointing things out. But he also grew up as shinobi. With 2 Sannin and another Jonin-leveled kunoichi, the young Kagaya proved himself to be a talented aspiring shinobi. A true prodigy, you might call him. He definitely focused on his bloodline, and how to use it in combination with taijutsu and kenjutsu. Haku also grew by a great amount. Her talent for medical ninjutsu was astonishing. It also helped having the greatest medic to teach you. Despite not being a genin yet, she already was better than most trained medics were. Tsunade was sure that one day the Yuki would become an even greater medic than her. But if there is one thing where student and teacher differ from one another, then it was at the combat skill. Haku had little talent for taijutsu. Her true calling lay with her bloodline. Ice Release was one of the stronger elemental bloodlines in the nations, and the girl had a great amount of talent for it. Personality-wise, Haku isn't really different from 3 years ago. She is still soft-spoken, polite, and loves teasing her friends. And she is incredibly kind. In fact, she is so kind that Jiraiya kinda believes her to be too kind for a kunoichi. Oh, and she has a crush on Naruto, who in turn is kinda oblivious to it. Now on to the young Senju heir. According to Sarutobi, he was without a doubt the most gifted upcoming shinobi the wise old Hokage ever met. And that comes from a man who saw the likes of Orochimaru, Minato Namikaze, Kakashi Hatake and the now traitor Itachi Uchiha growing up. Naruto was talented in taijutsu. He was a natural in kenjutsu, but that was not really surprising considering his Uzumaki blood. But he excelled in 2 certain shinobi areas: ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. It was expected, of course. Naruto showed at an early age how gifted he was in ninjutsu. His water transformation was already second to none in the Land of Fire. Truly impressive considering he wasn't even a true shinobi yet. His whip release was still in its infancy in terms of usability in battle, but he could completely control it. Now fuinjutsu requires a lot of patience and theory. Now you might wonder how a hyperactive child like Naruto could excel in it. Well, he is in Uzumaki and books about sealing were the only ones Naruto showed interest in. Aside from a certain book his sensei wrote years ago. Simply put, Naruto was a natural in seals, just as it was expected from him. His personality didn't really change. He was still a highly energetic, kind-hearted kid. The only difference was that Naruto sometimes would behave and think like a true Hokage would do, especially during sparring sessions. The reason for that was quite simple. The Kyuubi. On his 10th birthday, his sensei along with his grandma and grandpa Hokage decided it was time for him to learn about his burden. They told him everything, including his great-great-grandmother and mother being his predecessors. At first he was shocked and hurt. How could his father sacrifice him? How could he seal something like the Kyuubi inside of him? But after a long talk with the old man Hokage, he could understand why his father did it. His father put the protection and future of the village above everything else, like any other leader would. He didn't need to like it, but he understood his decision. At least he had his family, filling him with love like his grandmother Mito said was needed for someone like him. His friends didn't care either. He was Naruto, and no one else. Currently we find the 3 children in the town of Tanzaku. They were currently dressed in simple festival kimonos, with Naruto wearing a dark orange one, Haku a pink one and Kimimaro a plain white one. It was the annual celebration of the beginning of the current ruling dynasty in the land. The children are attending the festival for the 2nd time in a row. Their caretakers were currently in a restaurant. Jiraiya and Tsunade were drinking to the good old times with Shizen scolding her teacher for drinking too much. This left the 3 to enjoy the festival. It would probably be the last one they would attend as children since they would move to Konoha at the end of August to attend the last year of the academy. They were currently enjoying themselves with some cotton candy. Additionally, Haku also has a medium-sized plush fox tucked under her arm. You know, I should have decided for that toad, Haku, Naruto said. He won the toy for her at a kunai throwing stand and nearly had enough points for a big plush toad, but Haku insisted on the fox. Nah, it's okay, Naruto. Thank you for winning it for me, Haku happily answered. Naruto won that toy just for her. She could easily have won it for herself, but it was the thought that counted. Besides, the fox reminds me of you, she shyly finished. Seeing Naruto blushing at her comment, Kimimaro asked himself, why are they acting so weirdly around each other? He couldn't understand why Haku didn't just tell him her feelings, or why Naruto couldn't read her feelings. But there was something catching his attention, so he stopped. What is it, Kimimaro? Naruto asked his voice and turned his gaze towards the direction Kimimaro looked. He saw a bearded middle-aged man with dark red short hair and a ponytail on the top of his head. He wore a magenta kimono shirt with simple shinobi pants in the same color. The man was currently sitting behind a small desk, a shogi board on it, and a cup of sake in the other. He was staring at the three with an inviting smile. Good evening, younglings. Care for a match of shogi? The three looked at each other and shrugged. They already visited all the stands, so why shouldn't they kill some time? Besides, both Naruto and Kimimaro loved playing shogi, so they accepted. Naruto sat opposed to the man with his friends flanking him. As they began, the man introduced himself. My name is Rashi. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Naruto. Haku, nice to meet you. Kimimaro, came the reply from the younger ones. No surname? Rashi asked. You didn't give one either, came the reply from Naruto. Rashi just chuckled at his response. You're not bad at shogi. Thanks, came the reply from Naruto. You're not bad either. I hope so. I have played this game for nearly 40 years now. I must say, for being so young, you're quite gifted. You must be a talented young shinobi. How did you know that he is being trained to be a shinobi? A surprised Haku asked. Both of her friends wanted to know the answer as well. Simple. You just told me, a smiling Rashi answered to the children who just looked at him in shock. I guess because of the way he played like one. Your white-haired friend being a Kagaya didn't help either. You know that I'm from that clan? The normally stoic boy was surprised. Your marks are a dead giveaway to any shinobi. You're a shinobi too? A surprised Naruto asked. Maybe. Maybe I'm not. Let me give you some advice. A shinobi should never let his guard down, especially around strangers. You never knew who could be your enemy. Naruto just nodded. It was true, after all. His friends and he just completely dropped their guard around him. He had a kind aura around him, and they foolishly trusted him. But don't worry, I have no desire to harm you. It would probably be a bad idea harming the lost son of the Yondaime in this country, Rashi told them. While Kimimaro and Haku especially let the shook show on their faces, Naruto schooled his emotions. He knows who I am. How? While it is an honor to be compared to the Yellow Flash, I'm nothing more than an orphan, came the calm answer of Naruto. Reading Tobirama's journal really helped him to control his emotions. You don't need to lie about this, Naruto. You look like a mini version of your father. I should be able to recognize you. After all, we fought on different sides of the war. You fought the Yellow Flash? You're not from Konoha? Naruto asked with worry. This is bad. He might be from IWA, and if that Tsuchikage would get the knowledge of his existence, another war could be started. We're not going to let you harm him, Kimimaro forcefully started while standing up, ready to defend his friend. Haku doing the same, ready to summon Katsuya to let Tsunade-sensei know that they were in trouble. Relax, children. Like I said, I'm not going to hurt him. His secret is safe with me, Rashi calmly replied. Stand down, guys, Naruto told his friends. The two looked at each other and sat down again as Naruto and Rashi continued their game. You've got some good friends, kid, the older man told them while staring at the stuffed fox. People like us need them. People like us? Yeah, we are the same. Just with a little difference. I am an ape, Rashi continued, and Naruto looked confused. And you are a fox. I don't know what you are talking about, old man, came the hasty reply from the blonde. How does he know about the fox? Oh. I'm sorry. I guess the Yondaime is truly the strongest shinobi of all time. To defeat a tailed beast and actually kill it. Truly impressive, Rashi knowingly answered. You know, people with that burden are in need to find a way to control it. I left my village over 10 years ago to find a way. There are only two ways. One is to fully accept yourself. It's easier than the other option, as you need to become one with the world, foregoing all worldly desires. And the other way? Came the curious reply from Naruto. It's the harder but better way for sure. It's from the first person who carried our burden, Naruto. Do you know about Mito Uzumaki? She was the first Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox and wife of Hashirama Senju. After the first Hokage gave the bijus away, his wife made sure to tell the other Kages what a Jinchuriki needed. They have to be filled with love. I know that. Don't worry about that, Rashi. I have my grandmother, grandfather, sister, brother and sensei who love me, Naruto answered. And he has us, Haku chipped him, hugging his arm, while Kimimaro just nodded. That's very good to know, Rashi replied. Looks like I won. You play this game very good, young Namikaze. Sadly I have to leave now, but I look forward to playing again. As do I, old man. But next time I will defeat you, Naruto confidently answered. Will you now? The man answered while standing up. Say, what is your dream, young one? I'm going to become Hokage one day. The greatest one of them all. Just believe it, Naruto stated with full conviction while looking towards the sky. Big dreams you got there. I will be rooting for you, Naruto. But please promise me one thing. After seeing the blonde nod, he continued. Once you are Hokage, please create a world of peace. So that people like us aren't needed anymore. With that, Rashi bid his farewell and let the children think about his last words. A few minutes later, we're now with the Toad Sage Jiraiya, who stood in a park near the bar Tsunade. Shizen and him were visiting. He tried to clear his mind. Even after all those years, Tsunade didn't learn when it was enough. He failed to notice a certain stranger approaching him. Even after all these years, you don't know when to quit. You set a bad example, you know. Rashi? The sage asked. What are you doing here? Traveling throughout the world, Jiraiya. Always on the move like you, came the reply of the bearded man. I must say that you are truly a great teacher. Your student is a great shogi player. You must be proud of the young Namikaze. You met Naruto? Asked a worried Jiraiya. This was bad. Although Rashi was an old friend of his, they met around 10 years ago by accident and bonded over alcohol and women. He was still an IWA shinobi. Rashi fought Minato and was still somewhat loyal to IWA. Don't worry, Jiraiya. Like I said to Naruto, I'm not planning to hurt him. His secret is safe with me. After all, we Jinchuriki have to stick together in times like these. So you know, it was more of a statement than a question. Yeah, you confirmed it to me. Now I know why those three were so laid back around me. You always were too carefree, Rashi scolded the Sannin, who just sheepishly chuckled. Fear not. His secret is well guarded. It is believable your former student found a way to kill a tailed beast. If his female friend didn't have her toy, I wouldn't have suspected it. That's good. The last thing we need is a war now, answered Jiraiya, now completely calm. He trusted Rashi to keep his word. He was a good man in his books. Say, why don't we go back to the bar and have a drink? Don't you have enough now? Rashi asked with humor in his voice. I'm sorry, old friend. I need to get on the road and alcohol would just hinder my progress. I've been here for too long already. Did you encounter them yet? Not yet. But I heard rumors of people wearing that outfit being in the land of grass. Thank you for the warning, Jiraiya. Of course, old friend. Take care of yourself, don't want to hear getting captured. Rashi didn't answer him. He just nodded goodbye and took his leave. Although he stopped and said over his shoulder, take care of the boy Jiraiya. Would be a shame if he was captured. Take advantage of the fact that no one knows about him being a container. With that being said, the shinobi from IWA took his leave, leaving the Sannin stunned. You truly have a gift with people, Naruto. You are the child of prophecy, I'm sure of it. Chapter 8, Welcome to Konoha. August 31st, nearly 12 years after the attack Hokage office. The past 11, nearly 12 years were not too kind to the old Hokage. The old man aged considerably. No longer was he the god of shinobi. Now he was nothing more than an old and tired man. A very strong old man, but old nonetheless. He wanted nothing more than to retire. While he experienced some great things in the last 12 years like the return of his son Asuma or the birth of his grandchild Konohamaru, he also outlived his wife Biwako and lost his student Orochimaru. Not to mention the massacre of the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga incident. He truly regretted that he couldn't prevent both tragedies. He could have saved the lives of over 100 Uchihas and the lives of an innocent man. It all began with what he considers his greatest failure, even greater than the suicide of Tsukumo Hatake. The death of his successor Minato Namikaze and his wife Kushina. It should have been him to perform the Reaper Death Seal. He should have sealed the Kyuubi away, dying like a Hokage, protecting his village. Minato should have lived and prevented the Uchiha massacre. With him alive, the Hidden Cloud village would have never tried to abduct the Hyuga heir, and he would have been around to raise his son Naruto. Naruto. The name of his surrogate grandson brought a smile to his face. The young Senju heir was the future of this village, talented in the shinobi arts, possessing the ability to find allies in the weirdest places and a firm believer of the will of fire. He was sure Naruto would one day take the village to new heights. If only he would be a few years older. The professor doubted that he would survive long enough to give the head to the blonde. And to be honest, he shouldn't be the one handing over the position. He served the village as Hokage for nearly 50 years now. But sadly he had no one to take over. He doubted that either Jiraiya or Tsunade would take the mantle of Hokage, and both, Kakashi and Asuma, were too young and not strong enough. Yet, thinking about the boy, he wondered where he was. Tomorrow his graduation class would enter their last year, and it was part of the agreement he made with Jiraiya, that he would attend the last year. Even without Naruto, Haku and Kimimaro, this year was one of the most promising classes of all time. There was the Nara heir Shikamaru. He was as lazy as you would expect from a Nara. But he was a genius. No doubt about it. The heir of the Akamichi, Choji, was a kind and gentle soul and highly protective of his friends. If his future sensei could channel his protectiveness, the boy would make a fine shinobi. There was also Ino from the Yamanaka clan. She showed herself to be truly talented, but sadly she was infatuated with a certain Avenger. They would be the next generation of the legendary Ino Shikacho formation. The Abirame heir Shino was a mystery like the rest of his clan. He was quiet, very observant, and was a slightly above average student. He would bet his entire Ika collection that he held back in the academy like most members of his clan did. It wouldn't surprise him if Shino would be the #1 student of the class, if he didn't hold back. Kiba Inuzuka on the other hand was probably a victim of the academy system. If it were only practical skills, the young Inuzuka would easily be in the middle of the pack, his physical skills being top level and his shuriken jutsu being average. Now his theoretical skills were disappointing to say the least. Out of all children from shinobi clans, Kiba was the second lowest ranked after Shikamaru. Hinata Hyuga, the heir of the Hyuga clan. He pities the girl. Such a gentle soul, shy to a fault, and all because of the harsh treatment she experienced at the hands of her clan. She didn't fit in and her grasp of the gentle fist was underwhelming, but her academy records mark her as one of the top-rated kunoichi of the class. And then there was the boy. Sasuke Uchiha, this year's highest-ranked student. The last Uchiha, survivor of the massacre, and younger brother of Itachi. He pitied the boy. Losing his family in just one night must have been terrible to a young boy. He used to be such a sweet child. The keyword is used. After that night he changed. He became cold to everyone, arrogant because of his talent, and brooded the entire day. He wished that he could order the Inoichi to look through his head. What sane person would willingly live alone in the place his parents got murdered? Sasuke lived for one thing and one thing only. To kill his brother no matter what. He should have never allowed the boy to continue his education at the academy. What Sasuke needed was a long therapy with Inoichi. But sadly he was a fool and listened to the advice of his former teammates. They believed that the Sharingan, the Uchiha bloodline, would be lost if Sasuke would remain a civilian and would be able to leave the village and join a new village. They hoped that he would rebuild the Uchiha clan, but to be honest Hiruzen doubts that he would ever father a child. I mean, he knows Sasuke was young, but the boy had countless girls in his class fawning over him, and he didn't care. Maybe he played for the other team, but still he worries for his surrogate grandson and his friends. Jiraiya stated that he would accompany them, but they arrived yet. Did something happen? A couple of 100 meters outside of Konoha, the 4 people the Hokage worried for were nearly in Konoha. If you were at the gate, you could already see 4 figures approaching. 3 young teens and adults. It was easy to recognize the man as the Toad Sage Jiraiya. What was a little unusual were the bruises he had on his face. The first teen was the tallest of the children. He had medium white hair. He braided a small part of his hair on his left side in a braid. His skin was pale, his eyes vibrant green, and on his forehead were 2 crimson dots. He wore dark blue shinobi pants and wore a light blue button-up shirt, revealing a little bit of his chest. This was Kimimaro Kagaya. The second and shortest person was also the only girl in the group. She had long black hair, gathered in a white bun holder, with 2 bangs framing her face. Her eyes were chocolate brown and her skin was pale. She also polished her nails in green-blue color. Overall she was a pretty young girl. She wore a green-blue haori with white trimmings. Underneath she wore a navy blue shirt and leggings in the same color. Over her legs were a skirt like platoon in the color of her haori. This was Hakiyuki. The last person was taller than the girl, but not as tall as the Kagaya. He had spiky, sun-kissed hair with 2 small bangs framing his head. His face was handsome for his age, and his sapphire blue eyes could make the legs of girls weak. If anyone looked closely, they would recognize 3 whisker-like lines that nearly faded on his cheeks. There were also 3 red lines, 1 on each cheek and 1 on his chin. He currently wore a dark green long-sleeved shirt with a haori in a lighter shade of green on top. Both clothes were proudly presenting the Senju clan's crest on top of the Uzumaki's on his back. His shinobi's pants were in a very dark shade of orange. He also wore 2 wristbands in the same color of his pants. This young man was the heir of the Senju and Uzumaki clans, Naruto. This was the last time Master Jiraiya. I will never ever heal you after you got caught peeping again. Unusual hard words from the normally kind Haku. But no buts. You are the worst kind of pervert, master. She didn't even let the Sannin finish. I'm on her side, sensei. We were scheduled to arrive the day before yesterday. If you wouldn't have peeped, Haku wouldn't have needed to heal you and we would already be in Konoha. You don't understand, brat, Jiraiya admonished his godson. I didn't peeped. I did some research for my newest book. They just didn't understand the importance of my work, he continued while thinking back to the angry women that chased him. Besides, you are a fan of my work too. Noticing the angry glare he got from the Yuki, Naruto quickly explained himself of your original work. The tale of utterly gutsy ninja is a masterpiece. I don't understand why you would choose to write such dirty and terrible books. Haku nodded her head to this. Well, chipped in a new voice, his other work isn't terrible, Kimimaro said with a straight face. Although he was blushing slightly, Haku's whole world broke down. How could her kind and sweet Kimimaro like those perverted books? Oh, you are a fan, HM? I always knew that you had a good taste, Jiraiya said with a perverted smile. You are number 1 and Naruto is going to be number 2. Finally I will have students who will appreciate my work. There is not a chance in hell they're going to be as submissive as Minato was. Are they really good? Naruto asked his friend. Maybe I should give them a read. I mean, I base my opinion of those books on Grandma's opinion. I mean, if Kimimaro likes them. Naruto! Came the shook voice of Haku. She wouldn't let the boy she had a crush on read those books. Take it easy, Haku. I mean, Kakashi reads them all the time. They have to be good. Kakashi isn't exactly a perfect role model, came her reply, before clutching his arm and looking at him with big, begging eyes. Please don't touch his other books. Please. Naruto struggled to find a way to say no to just nodding his head, which in turn cheered the girl up. Kimimaro just looked at this scene and once again asked himself why his friends were so damn weird. You're already whipped, my boy, thought the sage while he face-palmed. But fear not. Your mother scared your father into not reading my books. She isn't as scary, so he stopped his perverted thoughts. He realized how Haku looked at him. Her sweet smile promised pain if he tried to get his student to read his books. How can such a sweet girl be as scary as Kushina was, if she wants to? Naruto was obvious to the silent conversation his sensei and friend had. He and Kimimaro just looked in awe at the Hokage monument. I'm finally home. Watch me become Hokage grandfather, uncle, father. Just believe in me. After the group passed the gatekeepers didn't cause a fuss at all seeing the Sannin. They headed straight towards the Hokage building. They needed to meet up with the old man, and Jiraiya already caused them to be late. On their way, a lot of the villagers noticed the group, wondering who the three children were. After all, they were accompanied by the Toad Sage. Not to mention that the blonde looked a lot like their beloved Yondaime. The secretary let them through with no problems. Jiraiya could meet with the Hokage whenever he desired, so there was no issue. She was stunned to her core, however, and Naruto could have sworn she mumbled Lord Minato when he passed her. Once the group entered the office, the old Hokage's face lit up. Jiraiya, Naruto, Haku, Kimimaro. Welcome to Konoha, he greeted them kindly. You had me worried. I expected you to arrive the day before yesterday. Well, sensei, there were complications on our journey, the sage nervously began. You see, there was that incident. Now this got the Hokage worried. What could have possibly made his student so nervous? But all of his worries disappeared. He tried to peep, got caught, was beaten, and Haku had to heal him. Lord Hokage, the calm and bored voice of the Kagaya explained bluntly. This got Naruto to burst out laughing, Haku to get slightly angry, and the Hokage got a deadpan look. Really, Jiraiya? That would be a very basic outlook on it, sensei. The truth is that I performed research. He stopped after noticing how the temperature dropped quite a bit. He should stop pissing off the upcoming Kunoichi. She can be very accurate with her senbons. The Hokage chuckled at this scene. Never change, Jiraiya. Are you three exited? Tomorrow you will start the academy. Within a year you will be full-fledged shinobis of the Hidden Leaf. About that, Grandpa, Naruto started, can't we just skip that year and just graduate? I mean, it's not like Haku, Kimimaro and me need the extra time. His two friends just nodded their heads. Neither one wanted to waste another year in an academy, in which they wouldn't really learn anything. I'm sorry, my boy, came the calm reply of the professor. It was part of the deal I made with Jiraiya all this years ago. Besides, it will be a good chance of creating bonds with your fellow shinobis. This class will be one of the most talented ones of all time. Children of nearly every clan will graduate with you three next year. We understand, Lord Hokage. It's just the Uchiha is in that class, right? Naruto interrupted Haku. Yes. Sasuke Uchiha is part of the class. He is the top-ranked student of the year, till now. I'm looking forward to challenging him for his spot. I'm going to show how much superior the Senju clan is, Naruto told them with excitement. The old Senju Uchiha rivalry is sparking once again. This might be good, the Hokage thought. As arrogant as Sasuke is, he respects strength. Maybe if Naruto proves his strength to him, the two can form a bond. After all, the two are the last members of their once great clans. Say, Lord Hokage? Haku, seeing the Hokage nod at her, continued, is Kakashi here? This question got Naruto and Kimimaro excited. The three children adored the masked shinobi as an older brother figure. They looked forward to meeting him once again. Sadly, Kakashi is currently on a mission and is not expected to be back till next week. Seeing the sad faces of Naruto and Haku, the Hokage quickly continued, but Asuma is in the village. Now this cheered them up a bit. They met the young Sarutobi during his time as one of the 12 shinobi guardians. He was a cool guy in their opinion, not as cool as Kakashi, but still cool. It would be nice to meet him again. He after all helped both Haku and Naruto with the initial stage of wind transformation. Now you will meet him quite often. Tsunade and I decided that it would be best if you three would live with me in the Sarutobi compound, at least till the Senju compound is fully renovated, the Hokage explained to the children, who smiled at him, being pleased with their living conditions. Now how about some ramen? I promised you to take you to the best ramen stand in the country, didn't I, Naruto? At this the young boy just smiled and nodded enthusiastically. He was going to eat the best ramen in the world and he couldn't wait. Watch out, Konoha, Naruto Senju arrived and life will never be the same. Chapter 9, The First Day. September 1st, Shinobi Academy, Konoha. Troublesome, a certain lazy Nara thought. Why couldn't I just sleep in? Another year of boring lessons, dragful practical exams and proclamations of true love towards the Uchiha. It's just such a waste of time. Shikamaru was a simple 11 soon to be 12-year-old boy. He had black hair, styled in a spiky ponytail and black eyes. He wore a short-sleeved gray jacket with green-edged sleeves and the rudimentary Nara clan symbol on the back, under which is a green-lined mesh armor t-shirt. Like mentioned, he is a simple boy, lazy to a fault, loves to sleep or watching clouds, and his only real passion are shogi and go. But sadly, as the heir of a clan as famous as the Nara clan and his father being Jonin commander, he kinda is forced to become a shinobi, and that would have been fine with him, if it weren't so troublesome. Next to him sat his best friend since forever, Choji, happily eating some chips. Like other Akimichi, Choji has a rotund build and markings on his cheeks in the form of swirls. He has spiky, brown hair that sticks upward. He wore a green, short-sleeved haori with a long, white scarf over a light green shirt, with the kanji for food on it. The last person in the row was another friend of his, Kiba Inuzuka, who was currently playing with his puppy Akamaru. Like most of his clan, he had messy brown hair, sharp black eyes with vertical slit-like pupils and pronounced canine teeth. He also has the distinctive red fang markings of the Inuzuka clan on his cheeks. His clothing consisted of dark grayish pants reaching to his calves and a gray, hooded fur-lined coat. He considered those two his closest friends in the village, bonding over the few times they were skipping classes. As he turned his head to look if it was already time to cover his ears, he saw two other classmates he somewhat considered friends sitting in the last row. Shino Aburame was the most interesting one of his classmates. He couldn't figure the boy out. He was quiet and polite, rarely spoke, and was incredibly smart. Both knew that the other one was holding back, not wanting to gather unnecessary attention. That and the few games of shogi they played against each other made Shikamaru to believe that they had some kind of friendship. The Aburame wore a light gray jacket with a high, upturned collar. Shino is a fair-skinned boy and the tallest member of his class. He has dark, bushy, brown hair and his eyes were covered by sunglasses. He looked as much like an Aburame than any could look like. The other person in the row was probably the only girl in his class that didn't waste her time fawning over the Uchiha. The kind, gentle and shy Hyuga heiress Hinata. Hinata was a slender girl with short dark blue hair. She wore a cream-colored hooded jacket with a fire symbol on the upper sleeves and fur around the cuffs and hem. She also wears navy blue pants. The most noticeable feature of the petite girl was her lavender-colored eyes, the prized bloodline of the Hyuga clan, the Byakugan. In Shikamaru's mind, she was the most talented kunoichi in this class but was held back by her shy nature. The two, while rarely speaking with each other, were on friendly terms with each other. But sadly the silence ended here. I'm first, forehead. I get to sit next to Sasuke this time. In your dream, Ino Pig. I was clearly first. And here we are, the two leaders of the Sasuke Uchiha fan club. His childhood friend Ino Yamanaka and the only not completely hopeless civilian student of the class, Sakura Haruno. The two most troublesome people in his life, aside from his mother, were arguing like usual, who can sit next to the Uchiha. Ino has fair skin, light blue eyes and long platinum blonde hair worn in a ponytail, with bangs framing the right side of her face. She wore a purple outfit consisting of a high-collared blouse and matching apron skirt, and had bandages on her abdomen and legs. If she wouldn't waste her time chasing the Uchiha, Shikamaru was sure she would be a talented kunoichi considering her being the heir of the Yamanaka clan. But sadly she wasn't and his childhood friend kinda disappeared. The other girl, Sakura, had fair skin, green eyes, and long pink hair. Sakura wore a red shipao dress with slits along the sides accompanied by a zipper and white circular designs. She also wears tight dark green bike shorts. She also had a very big forehead, and he remembers other kids making fun of it. Sakura was the highest-ranked civilian student of his class by large margin, not that it meant anything. The girl had book smarts but her physical skills were average at best. Shikamaru just turned his head towards their object of desire, Sasuke Uchiha. The last Uchiha was his usual clam self, while broodingly stared outside of the window. He tried to pity the boy. After all, he could only imagine how it must feel to lose your entire family at the hands of your own brother. But to be honest, Shikamaru didn't like him one bit, especially not after nearly breaking Choji's arm in a spar. The Uchiha had black eyes and spiky black hair with a blue tint. He wore a navy blue, short-sleeved shirt with a high collar, white shorts, and for a time, white arm warmers. The Uchiha crest was proudly displayed on the back of his shirt. Troublesome girls, were Shikamaru's thoughts when his two teachers entered. Both wore the standard uniform of Konoha shinobi, dark blue shinobi pants, and long-sleeved shirt under the standard shinobi flak jacket. One had black hair that was styled in a ponytail, dark eyes and a scar that runs across the bridge of his nose. The other man had white shoulder-length hair and green eyes. Those were Irika Yumino, the head teacher of this class, and his assistant Mizuki. Welcome back, everyone. Irika tried to get the attention of everyone, but sadly the girls still fought over who got to sit next to Sasuke. Shut up, you brats. Shikamaru's eardrums nearly exploded. Troublesome Irika-sensei. Now that I got everyone's attention, I welcome you all back to your hopefully last year as a student of this academy. Irika began, but before he could start his lecture he was interrupted by a knock at the door. After opening the door, 3 children around his age entered the class. It was a tall boy with white hair and 2 red dots on his forehead, a cute girl with long black hair and an above-average tall boy with sunny blonde hair and 3 lines on his face. The 3 piqued his interest, and he wasn't the only one as he heard girls whisper about how cute the blonde was. "I'm sorry, sensei. We tried not to be late, but," the girl started to explain but got interrupted by the tallest boy. "Naruto overslept," to which the now named Naruto let out a loud "Why are all blondes so damn troublesome?" Noticing Irika's confused look, the girl handed him a piece of paper. After reading it, Irika looked at the children with a stunned look. The girl and Naruto nodded their heads as in a confirmation, while the other boy just plainly stared at the chunin. "Okay students, met your new classmates," Irika started before being interrupted by Kiba. "Are you kidding me, Irika-sensei? We needed to go through 4 years of the academy already, and those 3 just got an extra pass?" It was a viable argument. Kiba wasn't the only one upset that they would get special treatment. Most of this class felt like this. "The order comes directly from our Hokage," Irika answered, still shocked who he was going to teach for this year. "Why don't you introduce yourselves to your classmates?" The white-haired boy went first, simply saying Kimimaro Kagaya, and staring at the rest of the class. His female friend was a little bit more polite. "Hakuyuki. Please take care of me," she finished her introduction with a small bow. Shikamaru felt his cheeks heating up, and he wasn't the only one. Seems like the entire male part of the class, even Sasuke, were blushing at the pretty girl. The blonde, Naruto, just gave the biggest smile imaginable, and Shikamaru noticed hearts in the eyes of his female classmates. "Naruto Senju, at your service." And this shocked the entire class, Shikamaru included, but it was someone no one expected to address the elephant in the room. "Senju? How? You aren't from this village?" Sasuke Uchiha asked, shocked to meet someone who might be worthy to be his rival. "Uchiha, right? Well, I was raised by grandmother Tsunade outside of the village." "Lady Tsunade is your grandmother?" came the question from Irika-sensei. "Well, not really. I mean, she has taken care of me since the day I was born. Her grandfather Hashirama is my great-great-grandfather. Although Grandpa says that I have more in common with Uncle Toby than Grandpa," the blonde finished. His 2 friends just nodded at their friend. Shikamaru guessed the 2 were also raised by the slug Sannin. "Grandpa?" came the question from Shino. "Yeah, Grandpa, you know the Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi." The blonde just casually answered the question. "Era, look how shocked they are, Naruto." Haku giggled at how the class looked at them with wide eyes. "I do wonder, however, that no one has guessed your father yet." "I mean," Rashi immediately guessed who he was. "His father?" Irika voiced his question. Irika knew that nothing would surprise him. To think he would start to teach the legacy of the Shodaime, a boy who called their Hokage grandpa, on top of 2 members of dead clans from the Land of Water. Irika needed a drink. "Yeah, my father was the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Sensei, Grandpa and Kakashi always say that I look like he did in his youth." Ignoring the fact that the boy apparently had also a relationship with Konoha's top jonin Kakashi Hatake and apparently was the lost son of their late Yondaime, the shocked Mizuki asked anyway, "Sensei?" Master Jiraiya, the young Kage, just stated it like it was the most normal thing in the world. As Irika asked his new student to take a seat, Shikamaru noticed 3 things. 1. The Sasuke Uchiha fan club apparently split into a second one for Naruto. The second thing was how Hinata looked at the blonde with wide eyes ever since he entered the room. Did they know each other? And the last thing was that Naruto and Sasuke just stared at each other, etching to fight against one another. Of course they would immediately revive the Uchiha-Senju rivalry. Why are blondes so damn troublesome? The same day after launch training grounds of the academy, after having a morning of lessons, Naruto could only think of 3 words to describe the academy. Waste of time. Oh boy, Irika-sensei's lessons were boring. He couldn't understand how Haku managed to listen to him without falling asleep. He most certainly didn't manage to, and neither did Kimimaro. What was even worse was that Irika-sensei didn't take it kindly to them sleeping. It took a complete retelling of how the village was founded from Naruto to shut him up. At least they weren't the only ones sleeping. Lunch was kinda nice too. While Naruto, Haku and Kimimaro got to know some of their classmates, Shikamaru and Choji were cool in his books, and although he was a little bothered by the way Kiba looked at Haku, he figured they could become friends too. Shino was weirdly keeping his distance, but after Haku invited him to eat with them, they got to know him too. While he was kinda creeped out by his bugs, he also found the Aburame's ability very interesting. Kimimaro instantly befriended the boy though. Other than that, he was kinda bothered by the rest of the girls of his class, looking at him like he was some piece of meat. Jiraiya-sensei warned him about this, but Naruto can't help him. He couldn't hide his insanely good looks. He figured that Haku was more bothered by this, since she was glaring at every girl that tried to come close. He also noticed that a girl was watching him from afar. It was kinda creepy, but he guessed she was also interested in getting to know the newcomers, and Haku's sending death glares to any girl trying to get close was scary. So he couldn't really fault her, but she kinda looked familiar, like he met her before. He didn't see the Uchiha at all. He guessed he was a loner. Pity they maybe could become friends, given that both of them were the hopes of their once famous clans. Didn't mean he wouldn't like to beat him up. After lunch concluded, Irika and Mizuki decided it was time to examine the progress of their students over the summer, and how advanced the 3 newcomers were. The practical examination contained 2 parts. The first one would be the shuriken jutsu of their student. It was just an accuracy test throwing 10 shuriken or kunai at a human-sized target. To get a passing grade in the graduation exam, one had to hit at least 5 in places that could lead to death. Most civilians either hit less or exactly 5 targets, with Sakura hitting 7 of her shuriken. The clan children on the other hand scored more than enough to pass. Shikamaru only hit the required 5, but after Iruka lightly scolded him for not improving at all, then Nara just answered how troublesome it would be to perform better. Naruto had never met someone as lazy as Shikamaru in his entire life, no doubt about it. Other than that, the only thing that caught the attention of the young Senju was that Shino hit his first 7 throws, just to miss his other 3. He was definitely holding back. Now Haku and Kimimaro both scored the highest grades, with both hitting 9 from their 10 shuriken. Well, till he was up, Iruka decided to let the newcomer go last and Naruto let his friend go before him. Sasuke's pride wasn't in the best shape. He was the best of his age group and he knew it. Since day one, he was on top of the leaderboards. Never in his life was he not the number 1 in his class. Well, till now. Both Haku and Kimimaro scored better than him. He was disappointed in himself at only hitting 8 targets, but to think that both outscored him. No, that couldn't be. He needs to be the best or he wouldn't have a chance to kill him. But Sasuke's worldview crumbled again, after he saw Naruto hitting all 10 shuriken, dead in the center. What made it even worse was the fact that he didn't even look at the targets. He just picked up the shuriken and threw them, hitting every single one with perfect accuracy. He was the best, wasn't he? Oh, he would show the Senju how much stronger he was in the taijutsu examination. The taijutsu examination wasn't something special. It was rather simple. Iruka would call the name of a student. Said student would then draw a name from the bag Mizuki held, which in turn would be his opponent. After that the two would spar for 3 minutes, simply using taijutsu. Iruka decided to let the newcomers go first and called up Kimimaro. The stoic boy just stepped forward, slightly nodding at the encouragement of his 2 best friends. He just drew a name. Kiba Inuzuka, came his calm voice. All right. Came the energetic reply of the dog lover. This was his chance to show the new girl what an alpha he was. He was sure she would notice how cool and strong he was, after he defeated his opponent. So what that he apparently was raised by a legendary Sannin. Kiba was sure he was far stronger than him. Although he would lie, if he would say that he wasn't kinda scared of the Kagaya. His blank stare creeped him out a bit. After Mizuki started the match, Kiba wasted no time sprinting at his opponent. He was very fast for his age, and his taijutsu was some of the best in the entire class. He would end this quickly. Being close to his opponent, the Inuzuka pulled back his hand to punch, and Kiba just screamed in pain. Kimimaro easily blocked his punch, letting Kiba hit his reinforced bones. What's up, dog boy? Are you hurt? Kiba couldn't come up with a comeback. His hand hurt like hell. How? Why are his bones so hard? But his thoughts were interrupted by a harsh kick into his midsection, throwing him into the ground. Having enough, mutt? Kimimaro just continued his trash talk. Jiraiya always went on about how trash talk was a big weapon in battles. Seeing how Kiba struggled to get up, Mizuki decided to call the match in Kimimaro's favor. To say he was shocked was an understatement. Kiba was one of the best taijutsu users in the class. To see him getting destroyed by the new kid intrigued him, especially the reaction of Kiba upon hitting his opponent's hand. Seeing how the match was over, Kimimaro went over to Kiba, offering his hand to stand up. Although Kiba's pride was damaged by this fight, he accepted. Kimimaro was alright in his eyes and he wasn't an asshole like the Uchiha. Plus his mother would kill him if he would be rude to new students. That was a good match. What the hell are your bones made of? They are harder than a rock. He didn't get a reply. Kimimaro just stared at him calmly, and it did creep Kiba out. After Kimimaro gave him a nod of respect, the Kagaya went back to his friend who congratulated him upon his victory. Shikamaru was intrigued about the match. Never in his life did he see Kiba getting decimated like that in a taijutsu battle. As a matter of fact, Kiba lost only to Sasuke but never this harshly. He also wondered about the reaction Kiba had upon hitting his opponent's bones. What are you? He asked himself while looking at the white-haired teen, who in turn got fussed over by Haku. Sasuke's thoughts were similar to Shikamaru. He knew firsthand how good Kiba was in taijutsu. Even if the Inuzuka was an idiot, he was physically gifted and the only one that could kinda keep up with him in taijutsu. To think he would get so totally destroyed, wondered how he would fare against Kimimaro. Finally some competition ran through his mind. As arrogant as he was and as high he thought of himself, Sasuke knew that strong competition would just force himself to work harder to remain on top. I wonder how strong you are, Senju? Hakiyuki, Iruka called the new girl up. He too was more than impressed how easily Kimimaro defeated Kiba. Iruka also had an idea why Kiba hurt himself as much on hitting the other boy. Now it was time for the only girl of the group to prove herself. He was intrigued how good Master Jiraiya and Lady Tsunade raised the 3. After Haku heard her name getting called, she stopped her treatment of Kimimaro. Not that he needed any, but she healed more injuries on her boys than she could count. Looks like my time is now. Wish me luck, Naruto. She asked with a smile and skipped over to Iruka, ignoring the jealous looks the other girls, sans one, sent her. Drawing her opponent, she read Ino Yamanaka. Jackpot, thought the Yamanaka. The platinum blonde couldn't believe her luck. She could prove herself not only to her Sasuke but also to the new kid Naruto and got to defeat someone trained by a Sannin. After her victory, she could only imagine how both Naruto and Sasuke would fight over her. Are you ready to lose? Ino confidently taunted her opponent. Someone like you could never hope to beat me, she continued her taunt. It always did manage to intimidate Hinata, the only real competition she had. Era, thinking highly of yourself? Came the sickly sweet reply from the ice user. Both Naruto and the normally stoic Kimimaro gulped at that tone. As sweet and kind as Haku was, she could easily be the scariest of the three. The only time she used that tone was when she was pissed. Oh boy, I wonder if she goes for physical or psychological destruction, ran through Kimimaro's mind. After Mizuki began the match, Ino wasted no time in waiting and straight up attacked her opponent, who in turn easily blocked her. Is this it? Haku asked herself. Both Kimimaro and Naruto had similar thoughts. Ino's taijutsu was terrible to say the least. Are every one of the girls so weak? Haku couldn't comprehend how weak her opponent truly was. Taijutsu was by no means her strong suit, but compared to Ino, a member from a ninja clan, she was a master in hand-to-hand combat. Is that everything? She asked her opponent directly, who got a little bit angry. She couldn't land a single hit on the Yuki. How was she supposed to impress the Senju and Uchiha if she couldn't keep up with her? And that question of her angered her even more. But before she could reply, Haku continued, pity. I guess I'll end this. Deciding to completely crush her opponent and show the other girls not to mess with her, she delivered a hard punch to the face. Another punch into Ino's midsection, was followed up by a roundhouse kick to the face, pathetic. And with that, Ino laid on the ground, bodied and bruised, with her confidence being crushed. She lost in front of not only her crush, but also that cute new kid, and her confidence got another huge blow. After Mizuki called the match in favor of Haku, the Yuki spoke some harsh words to think that someone from a clan could be so pathetically weak. I don't want to know how weak those clanless girls are. Maybe if you would put your mind on becoming a capable kunoichi instead of fawning over some boy. You are without a doubt a disgrace to every kunoichi in the world. After telling her those words, Haku was ready to go off the pitch, leaving a crying Ino behind. Despite being an old friend of Ino, Shikamaru couldn't really find a way to defend her. She was a sorry excuse of a kunoichi in training. Haku just harshly stated the truth. Hey, who do you think you are? The voice belonged to Sakura. She, like a lot of the other girls, was shocked at how easy Ino got crushed. Haku's words also hurt her. She was clanless, but she was head-to-head with Ino as the top-ranked kunoichi. But before she could say anything, she froze. Haku looked at her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Era, does Pinky want to say something? She asked the pink-haired. Haku was certain that she would be even more pathetic than the Yamanka. Seeing her scared face, Haku continued, why don't you go back in line before I freeze you? She continued in a kind, sadistic way while patting her cheeks. With that being said, she left the pinkette standing shocked and skipped over to Kimimaro and Naruto. Did you watch me, Naruto? Did you see how I defeated her? She asked in a happy voice, making everyone wide-eyed at how quickly she transformed from a scary kunoichi to happy young girl. Yet truly impressive, Haku. Although, did you need to be so harsh to her? Not really. You have to admit how pathetic she is, don't you? I guess, Naruto replied. Your taijutsu improved, came the quiet praise from Kimimaro. Looks like our extra hours did something. Yeah, thank you, Kimi, for the help, Haku kindly answered her friend, who in turn just gave her one of his rare smiles. Seeing how Ino managed to leave the pitch, Irika decided it was time for Naruto to fight. He was more than impressed at how well Haku performed. Looks like Lady Tsunade raised a fine kunoichi. Hearing his name get called, Naruto was enthusiastic to prove himself. Yosh! Now it's my time. Good luck, Naruto, came the good luck wish from Haku, while Kimimaro noted to his best friend. Walking towards his sensei, Naruto tried to ignore the encouragement from the girls in the class, who seemingly completely forgot the harsh advice from Haku. Drawing his opponent's name, Naruto was ecstatic at who his opponent was. Sasuke Uchiha. Chapter 10. Time flies. June 27th, graduation day, night time. It was the middle of the night, and most of Konohagakure was still fast asleep. The only people on the streets were Chunin patrolling the village, looking for potential intruders. But till now it was quiet, maybe too quiet. In the shadows of the night, two figures moved, carefully avoiding the patrolling ninjas with perfect precision. They got used to it by now. With all the stuff they did during their time in Konoha, their stealth was top tier. After all, they could avoid the elite force of Konoha. But if your teacher was one of the best stealth masters in the world, it would be expected from them. Today was the day Naruto and his classmates were waiting for. After today they would officially become ninjas of the village. Today was their last day of childhood, and Naruto would play one last prank on the village, his greatest one. It was something Naruto picked up during his lessons with Irika. Since he was bored to death, he started planning pranks to make his life more entertaining. At first he played them on Irika and Mizuki, but it soon included the entire village. Until now, no one could catch him performing his pranks. The village found it rather funny. Naruto developed a reputation as the golden boy of the village. He was after all the heir of their founder and son of their greatest hero. Had an incredibly kind attitude, and you become the village darling. While the civilian side of the village was rather entertained by his pranks, and the shinobi side rather impressed by his skills, the Umbu wasn't. After all, they were in charge of stopping his antics. What was even worse was the fact that everyone knew Naruto was the prankster. He admits it after all. Despite that, the Hokage didn't punish him. On the contrary, he was encouraging him. It's a decent training, was all the Hokage said to the pranks. We now find Naruto and Kimimaro on top of the Hokage monument, multiple cans of paint and brushes ready. This was the big one. Something he planned for a long time. He was going to show the village his artistic side. He was glad that Kimimaro agreed to lend him a hand. He mostly performed his pranks alone, but whenever he needed someone to be the lookout or play the distraction, the calm Kimimaro never let him down. He was a true friend. Are you ready? Asked Naruto his friend, to which the Kage just nodded. So they began their art piece. I can't wait to see the reaction of everyone. Sasuke will just tell you to stop wasting your time. Hey! He likes my pranks, came Naruto's reply before thinking back to their first day in the academy. Flashback Naruto's first day at the academy. Defeat. Sasuke couldn't believe it. He was never defeated in taijutsu. Not since before that day. Yet the blonde bested him. To make it worse, he seemed to didn't even try. Naruto completely defeated him with ease, countering everything he threw at the blonde. Lost in his thoughts, the Avenger didn't realize that his opponent went over to him. Here, Naruto said, and offered his hand with a kind smile on his face. Was a good match. I don't want to sound rude, he continued, but maybe you shouldn't rely on the interceptor fist without a Sharingan. Seeing the shocked face on Sasuke's face, the blonde quickly explained Uncle Tobirama developed a whole taijutsu style to counter that stance, and it isn't even useful without a Sharingan. You know, if you want some help, I could. The blonde tried to offer his help, just to be interrupted by the Uchiha. I don't need your help, Senju, came his reply as he turned down the offered hand. The Avenger stood up and went off the pitch, trying to ignore everything around him. His pride was severely damaged. If he couldn't beat Naruto, how was he supposed to beat his brother? It also did bother him how every girl praised Naruto on how strong and cool he was. That used to be him. He didn't even get pity from his fangirls. Not that he liked them or anything, but it was nice to know someone cared for him. He felt himself to become jealous of Naruto. Not only did he apparently have people that loved and raised him, but also taught him the way of the shinobi, everything he lost when Itachi killed off the rest of their clan. It also didn't hurt to be taught by a legendary ninja like Jiraiya. It's not fair, he thought while slightly glaring at the blonde who still stood on the pitch, sadly looking after him. Looks like we won't be friends like I hoped, were his sad thoughts. Back to the present. He hates you. Kimimaro's quiet voice pulled him back to the present. He doesn't hate me. We just had a rough start. I mean, we trained together sometimes. We are friends, Naruto replied. Ignoring the look his friend shot him, he reassured himself. We're friends, he repeated while thinking back to that day, March 22nd Konohagakure. Naruto was glad he escaped. Jiraiya-sensei was right. There was nothing scarier than fangirls. Ever since his arrival in Konoha, the girls from his academy formed a fan club for him and competed to be his one true love. What he didn't understand was why a clan heir like Ino could be his biggest one, or why he also attracted some of the younger kunoichi of the village. He was just an academy student after all. Damn his grandma for raising him to be polite to everyone, and damn his father for gifting him with incredibly good looks. He was currently walking home right next to the small river, till he noticed a lone figure sitting on a small bridge, feet in the water. Sasuke, Naruto recognized his classmate. He didn't know why the Uchiha disliked him so much. Just because he defeated him on his first day. He was always friendly to him and tried to make friends, but Sasuke didn't even bother. At least the Uchiha spoke a bit with him. That was more interaction he had with any other classmate. Making his mind up, he moved to the black-haired boy. Hey Sasuke, he began as the Uchiha turned his gaze to him, do you mind? Seeing no reaction other than the scowl that was nearly always on the face of Sasuke, he took that as a yes. He sat next to the other boy, dipping his feet in the water. Man, fangirls are really something. I think I spent at least half an hour getting away from them. But who do I talk to? You know how difficult it is to get away. He tried to start a conversation, but Sasuke just ignored him, preferring to brood like he always does. Seeing this, Naruto decided to cheer the boy up a bit. He threw him in the river. What is your problem, you idiot? Now Sasuke talked to him, completely ignoring the angry tone and glare the Uchiha sent him. You look like you would need to cool off a bit. Always brooding isn't good for you. Life is short, and you should enjoy it to the fullest, Naruto answered. You should just start to take it easy and have fun sometimes. I can't have fun, you idiot. Not till he is dead. Not till my clan's honor is restored, came the heated reply from Sasuke. It's hard, isn't it? Naruto began as his eyes softened, to be the last hope of a nearly extinct clan. The pressure to restore its honor, the expectation you have to live up, he continued to shock Sasuke. I might not know how it is to lose his family, but I'm also an orphan, you know. We both have our demons. You wanting to kill your brother and me having to live with the giant expectations as the son of the Yondaime. We aren't that different, Sasuke. We should be friends. This surprised Sasuke. Friends? Who is that? The Naruto he knew from the academy was a loud-mouthed and carefree prankster. Why did he sound so smart? Yeah, friends. We should be able to understand each other, you know. They're the reason why I'm so strong, he continued while thinking about his family and friends. I trained to be able to protect my precious people. If you don't have people worth fighting for, you will never truly be strong. Precious people? Sasuke thought about that. About his stern father, his loving mother, and his cool brother figure Shursui. All gone because of him. Precious people were a weakness. Love was something for fools. Only hate made you strong. Strong like Itachi? But Naruto didn't hate. In fact, the blonde seemed incapable to hate. Maybe friendship made you strong like Naruto said. What happened next did surprise the energetic blonde. Sasuke, still in the river, pulled the blonde in it. Hey you bastard! What was that for? Now it was Naruto's time to be a little bit angry. Sure, he did the same thing earlier, but he was allowed to do that. You looked like you needed to cool off a bit, the Uchiha replied in his cocky voice. This made Naruto blink, hearing the same words he said to him earlier. After the initial shock, Naruto started to laugh while Sasuke smirked in amusement. After calming down, Naruto asked the question, friends? The only response he got was the classical Uchiha HN. Back to the present. Since that day, Naruto considered Uchiha a friend. Sure, the only thing the two did outside of the academy was train together, but it was a beginning. Sasuke also opened up a little bit in class. He was still arrogant, quiet and brooding, but at least he didn't ignore anyone anymore. Still, I wouldn't consider that friendship, Naruto. All you do is train together, Kimimaro reminded his friend. He never joins us when we hang out with our friends. That's true. Regardless of how often I invite him, he never joins us. Naruto sadly thought about him and Kimimaro hanging out with Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and Shino. September 13th, Konohagakure. Naruto, Kimimaro and Haku attended the academy now for around 2 weeks, and to say that they were bored would be an understatement. The only positive thing was that the three made new friends. Currently Naruto and Kimimaro were hanging out with Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and Shino in a park. Shikamaru and Choji did this regularly, and Kiba did join them a couple of times in the past. The three invited Naruto and Kimimaro to hang out with them. Their friendship was sealed once Naruto and Kimimaro told some older teens, who bullied Choji for being a little big-boned, to fuck off. Kimimaro even broke an arm of one of them. After that day, the five were the best of friends. The three also formed a friendship with Haku, which wasn't that difficult. You could not like the kind girl, who decided to let guys have some boys' time. Naruto and Kimimaro kinda felt bad for their friend. She was the only one of them who wasn't as opposed to attending the academy. She longed to have a few girlfriends around her age. Pity that the entire female part of their class, save for one, were the very thing Haku despised. Fangirls. Shino got invited by Kimimaro to join them. The two silent teens somehow bonded on the very first day. Wondering why Shino wasn't part of the group of Shikamaru, Choji and Kiba, Naruto asked the Aburame for the reason. They didn't invite me and I didn't want to impose, was the reply he got. After Kiba admitted that the three kinda forgot to invite him, Shino entered a short depression. Gotta remind myself to never forget him, Naruto thought from his place next to Kiba. The ninja of the Inuzuka, Akamaru, was currently performing a few tricks he learned in front of Kiba, Naruto, and Choji. All the while Shino observed the game of shogi Shikamaru had with the Kagaya. Troublesome. Not even Shino did give me that much trouble. To think that someone my age group can give me a challenge, thought the Nara while finally beating his opponent. Looks like you win. You have to play against Naruto too. He is better than I am. Now this got the attention of both Shino and Shikamaru. Naruto was a loudmouth with no patience. How could he be better than the calm and quiet Kagaya? Are you finally finished? Came the loud voice of Naruto. You never guess what Akamaru just did. I wished I had an Egen. Why is every blonde so damn loud? Came the reply of Shikamaru as he, Shino and Kimimaro moved over. You shouldn't speak to your future boss like that. You know I might be resentful, came the joking reply from Naruto. What do you mean, Naruto? How are you our future boss? Asked Choji while he ate away from his snacks. Well, one day I'm going to be Hokage and you all will work for me. You want to be Hokage? Why? Shino decided to ask the question. Because it's in my blood, of course. Just watch me, guys. I will become Hokage. The greatest of all time, he spoke with conviction. And I want to show the world that I'm Naruto Senju and not Naruto the heir of the Shodaime, or Naruto the son of the Yellow Flash. I just want to make a name for myself, Naruto continued in a smaller voice. I think you will become a great Hokage, Naruto, replied Choji with a smile, trying to cheer up his newest friend. Yeah, but that's still a pretty large dream, you know, Kiba voiced his doubts. He didn't mean it in a bad way. He considered the blonde a good friend already, but not everyone can become Hokage. Troublesome. I don't understand why you would want to become Hokage, but I'll support you. It's what friends do. I didn't mean it in a bad way. It's just, I think Naruto knows how you meant it, Shino interrupted the Inuzuka, before turning to the blonde. I look forward to the day you achieve your dream. The Aburame, thanks to his bugs, had a certain grasp of how powerful Naruto already was. To think that an 11-year-old boy would have the largest chakra reserve he ever felt. There was a big chance he would be strong enough to achieve his dream. Hearing the support of Shino and Shikamaru, the encouraging smile of Choji and the nod of approval from Kimimaro, Kiba decided to put his faith into his friend too. If people smarter than him believed the blonde could do it, who was he to disagree? You better not disappoint us, Naruto. Feeling the support of his friends, Naruto just grinned before answering, thanks guys. I won't let you down. Just believe in me. Back to the present. That was just the first of many gatherings he and his friends had during the last year. Sasuke and I never just hang out with each other. It's always training. Are we really friends? Yeah, but maybe he just doesn't like large gatherings, Naruto tried to convince his friend. If he were honest, it was more to convince him. Kimimaro just sighed. Hinata also doesn't like large gatherings, but she does more things with Haku than you do with Sasuke. Haku and Hinata are actually friends with each other, he reminded his stubborn blonde friend. Naruto couldn't disagree on this. Haku's and Hinata's relationship is more like a friendship than the one Sasuke and I have, the blonde thought before he remembered how Haku and Hinata became friends. September 10th Training Grounds. We find Naruto and Haku walking toward Training Ground 29, where he was scheduled to meet with his newest sensei. His grandpa is the best for organizing this. Haku was on her way to pick up some medical herbs from a pharmacy, so she decided to tag alone and spent some time alone with her crush. Thank you Konohamaru for making Kimimaro watch over you, she silently thanked the cute grandson of the Hokage. While they walked, they spoke about their new lives in Konoha and the academy, especially about Naruto's fangirls and how disappointed Haku had to be to not find any female friends. As they continued, Naruto noticed a certain person hitting a fighting doll, training her taijutsu. Hinata? This grabbed Haku's attention. She didn't have anything against the Hyuga, at least she wasn't a blatant fangirl like the rest of the class. Her shy demeanor made it hard for her to approach the Hyuga and engage in a conversation. That and her massive crush on her Naruto. Damn his sunny attitude and good looks, she cursed a few traits that attracted her to him. Haku was also sure that Hinata was the girl Naruto met all those years ago. That explained the infatuation Hinata had with the blonde. She didn't consider the Hyuga as a fangirl. Hinata had far too much dignity to lower herself to that level. But the girl had a massive crush on Naruto, always stumbling and blushing when he just looked at her. If it wasn't about her Naruto, she would have found it cute. To think that Naruto doesn't recognize her, while she developed a huge crush on him. Maybe I should tell him, she thought before making up her mind. Nah, wouldn't be fun that way. She turned to Naruto and said, go ahead. You don't want to be late for your first lesson, do you? I guess. If you don't mind. Seeing her nod, he bid her farewell. He was curious if Haku was going to talk with Hinata, so decided to use some of the stealth techniques Jiraiya taught him to spy on the girls. Haku carefully moved to the Hyuga, not wanting to alarm her of her presence. She must be training her gentle fist katas. Truly an impressive taijutsu. Hey Hinata, she decided to make her presence known, the Winston surprise before turning to her. Haku-san. What are you doing here? I was going to pick up something from a pharmacy when I noticed you. Looks like you train hard. I was afraid I was the only kunoichi of our class who took her training seriously. Maybe Hinata was worth befriending. Please don't compare me with them, Haku-san, came her slightly angry reply. Haku would have never guessed that the Hyuga would be so offended. Of course not. According to Naruto, her father thinks of her as failure. So she trains extra hard to please him. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, she tried to dissolve the slight tension. It's just your hands. Now she noticed the Hyuga's hands. They were bloody and scratched. How long does she train already? It's nothing, Hinata tried to argue, but Haku didn't let her. Of course it's something. Let me help. Haku took her hands and performed the mystical palm jutsu. Noticing the curious look of Hinata, she smiled and answered, I was trained to be a medic since I'm 7. If you're raised by Lady Tsunade, you're bound to learn something about medical ninjutsu. Thank you, came her reply, enjoying how the pain ceased to exist. It's nothing special. Naruto and Kimimaro had scratches all the time, so I got a lot of practice. See, all healed up, but I don't think you should continue training. I would prefer to apply some ointment to properly heal your hands. They might have been infected. You don't need to, Haku-san, Hinata tried to argue, but Haku didn't let her. Nonsense. As a medic, it's my duty to make sure you're healthy. Besides, the Yuki replied before gaining a mischievous grin, I doubt Naruto would appreciate it, if you were hurt. Naruto-kun, stammered Hinata while blushing at the thought of her savior from all those years ago. The person that may never give up. I bet he forgot about me. Yeah, Naruto. The one who saved you all those years ago, right? Haku continued, he can be so dense sometime. He doesn't recognize you, she giggled. Come, let's go to the pharmacy and get some bandages and ointment for your hands. After that we might be able to grab some sweets. Well, I guess I should treat you to some cinnamon buns as a thank you, replied Hinata in her gentle voice. Haku was nice, and it was the least she could do. Maybe they could become friends. Plus she would get some cinnamon buns and nothing, Aside from maybe Naruto, compared to cinnamon buns. I love cinnamon buns. You too? Asked the energetic Haku. Seeing Hinata nod with a small smile, she grabbed her hands. I think this is the beginning of a wonderful friendship. I would like that. Back with Naruto, the blonde smiled. Looks like Haku got her female friend. He knew how much his friend longed for a girlfriend. Hinata seems to be a nice girl, despite her shyness. He also could have sworn he met her before, but couldn't tell where. His thoughts were interrupted by a loud Haku-san. From red-faced Hinata. He also could see Haku giggling at the blushing Hyuga. That girl loves her teasing way too much. Oh shit. I'm going to be late for my lessons. I hope Tenzo-sensei won't be too angry. And with that, the young blonde ran towards training ground 29 to begin his new lessons. Back to present. Yeah. Haku and Hinata are true friends with each other. They nearly do everything together. Ever since that day, Haku and Hinata became the closest of friends. Hinata also grew out of her shell and wasn't as shy as she used to. At least she could now talk with Naruto, without stammering every single word. That is friendship, Naruto. What we have is friendship. Kimimaro still tried to convince his friend that he and Sasuke were rivals and nothing more. You and Sasuke are rivals, not friends. But Kakashi and Guy are both rivals and friends, Naruto brought up. He met the spandex-wearing Jonin a week after his 12th birthday. He and Kakashi were visiting his parents' grave, and on their way back to the village, they met the dynamic taijutsu master. Guy and Kakashi talked about their eternal rivalry, or rather Guy did, and Kakashi tried to ignore him. After noticing how he was ignored, the green-clad shinobi cursed the attitude of the scarecrow. He also noticed Naruto, talked some crap about how brightly his flames of youth burned, and offered him a spandex similar to his. He was never as fascinated and scared at the same time and politely declined his offer. After Guy bid his farewell, he asked his big brother, who the fuck that was. After Kakashi introduced him as Mato Guy, the greatest taijutsu user of Konoha and his best friend, he wondered how the two were best friends. I don't really know. All I know that there isn't someone I would consider a closer friend than him, was the answer he got from Kakashi. The relationship of Guy and Kakashi is different. I just worry for you, Naruto, Kimimaro unusually kindly told the blonde. You know how they awake their next form. I don't want you to form a bond, let your guard down, and be killed by him. You know what your granduncle wrote in his journal. Never trust an Uchiha, I know. It's just I hoped we could become friends. Thanks for caring, Kimi, you're a true friend, answered the blonde before smiling at the Kagaya. He now put his mind to finish his art piece before the exam would start. The village wouldn't be ready for his art. Chapter 11, Graduation Day, June 27th morning, Sarutobi compound. Today was the day. Today she would finally become a full-fledged kunoichi, and after today she would never have to deal with those stupid wannabe kunoichis of her class. Hakuyuki was a very happy 13-year-old girl. On this day, she along with her friends would pass the graduation exam and become ninjas of the hidden leaf. She couldn't wait till the exam started. Normally she wouldn't look forward to an exam, who would? But this was different. Never again would she need to spend hours that were wasted in a lecture that she didn't need. Soon she would go on missions, see the world, and become a medic greater than Tsunade-sensei. There was nothing that could stop their graduation in her mind. She was the highest-rated kunoichi in the class, the number 2 student with Kimimaro of the class. Only Naruto was ahead of them, but that was expected. Even if the blonde slept during most of their classes, his tests always had a perfect score. The only one of her friends she worried for was Kiba. The boy wasn't the most intelligent, but she hoped he somehow manages to scrape enough points to pass the written exam, as the practical test wouldn't be a problem for him. Shikamaru might be ranked worse than Kiba, but the Nara heir didn't try. He would pass, barely, but pass regardless. As she stood up, she hummed a happy tone. There were few instances in her life where she was as happy as she was right now. Meeting Master Jiraiya is one of those few instances. As much as the man was pervert, and she hated perverts, the girl still adored her savior. Without him she wouldn't have met Naruto. She wondered if he or Kimimaro were already up. Gazing outside of her window, she got her answer. Oh, Naruto, she giggled like the young girl she was, while gazing at the Hokage monument. June 27th Hokage office. Hiruzen Sarutobi was tired. More than usual. That damn paperwork did keep him from his sleep, but it was expected. After all, today was the graduation exam, which meant that the village soon would have new promising ninjas in their ranks. Despite that, he still wondered how his sensei and Minato managed to deal with it so quickly. Lord Hashirama also never had trouble with paperwork, but that was more due to his brother doing it for him. Tobirama made sure to not let Hashirama do something stupid like establishing a civilian council, but he was finished now and could enjoy a little time of peace. As he lit his pipe, he thought life is good. He wondered if Naruto, Haku, and Kimimaro were already on their way to the academy. He sadly couldn't wish them luck for their exam. As he puffed out some smoke from his mouth, the old man decided to use his crystal ball to locate his surrogate grandchildren. After he channeled his crystal ball, he wondered why a laughing Naruto was apparently on top of a rooftop, near the Hokage tower. What does he do there? He asked himself till he got an answer. Lord Hokage. You won't believe what he did this time. Sarutobi sighed. Of course he would do something again. I wonder what he did this time. The old man stood up and left towards Naruto's location. At least he would get to wish him luck. June 27th. The mentioned rooftop. Naruto surely outdid himself this time. How did no one manage to stop him this time? Naruto is so cool. Those were just a few reactions of the residents of Konoha. Naruto's latest prank most certainly brightened the mood of everyone. If you would look towards the Hokage monument, you could see Naruto's art piece. The carved faces of the Hokage were painted in classical kabuki warrior style. On either one of their foreheads, Naruto gave them fitting nicknames. On Hashirama's forehead were the words Tree Hugger painted, while on Tobirama's stood Mr. No Fun. Sarutobi was named Old Ape and his father had whipped Toad on his forehead. Next to his father's head, the blonde painted his own face, with the greatest painted across his brow. Neither the civilians nor the ninjas of the village could explain it to themselves, how the Senju heir managed to do it without getting caught. But safe to say, Naruto outdid himself. He also was quite the artist. Naruto proudly looked from his position on the rooftop at his work. He was rather proud of himself. This was by far his masterpiece. He didn't worry about being discovered now. He finished his art, and he doubted he would be caught now. Hiding in plain sight almost always worked. Naruto. Almost. Dem Iruka-sensei always manages to find me, thought the blonde. And this was true. His scarred teacher was the only shinobi, aside from the Hokage or Kakashi, that managed to find him after his pranks. Good morning, Iruka-sensei. Did you like my newest art piece? Yeah, very funny, Naruto. Today is the graduation exam and you play some childish prank. I thought the chance of being a ninja would give some sense of duty. Don't be so harsh on him, Iruka, came a third old voice. Lord Hokage, the surprised Iruka replied before bowing, who nodded in return. You really outdid yourself this time, my boy, the Hokage kindly told his surrogate grandson. Your drawing arts have really improved over the years. Thanks, Grandpa. I always strive to be the best. Do you like it? Naruto smiled at his grandfather figure. He knew he wouldn't really get punished by him. The professor quite enjoyed Naruto's stunts. He liked to use them for training his new umbus to detect intruders. I have seen worse from you. But sadly I think the Hokage monument is not the place for your art to be displayed. Why don't you clean it and go to the academy? I doubt you want to fail your graduation, do you? The Hokage kindly ordered his future shinobi. I guess I should. Wish me luck, Grandpa. See you at the academy, Sensei. Naruto conceded and jumped off the rooftop and moved towards the top of the Hokage tower. You are too soft, Lord Hokage. If you don't punish him, he won't learn his lesson, Iruka told his superior. He didn't dislike Naruto. In some way the young blonde is one of his favorite students, but the blonde had a problem with rules. Don't worry, Iruka. Naruto knows his limit, as the Hokage replied. Naruto began cleaning off his art, using a water-style ninjutsu. See? It will be gone in no time. Naruto's antics cheer up the village. Yeah, that's true, thought Iruka. Since Naruto arrived, the mood of the village has noticeably risen. The morale of their shinobi also went up. No wonder if you consider that the lost son of the village's greatest hero returned. Iruka would also swear that the flora looked healthier and bloomed brighter since Naruto's arrival. As Naruto finished his cleaning, the two older men looked how the blonde joined Kimimaro on the streets. They saw him getting congratulated and praised about his latest stunt. He was without a doubt the village's golden boy. As nice as it was to speak with my boy, I sadly have to return to my duties. Good luck for the exams. And with that the Hokage returned to his office, leaving Iruka alone. You're truly something else, Naruto. With those thoughts Iruka decided to head towards the academy. No reason for him to be late to the exam of the most promising class in over a decade. June 27th, Academy, Naruto's classroom. Haku just couldn't believe what Naruto did, and neither did the rest of the class. Painting the Hokage monument was without a doubt the greatest stunt he pulled since being here. Sitting next to her was her best friend Hinata. Ever since that day on the training grounds, the two were inseparable, always spending time together. Despite both having crushes on the blonde Senju, Hinata and Haku didn't fight over him. They agreed to not let a boy get in their friendship. Regardless who got Naruto in the end, their friendship would continue. As long as Naruto ends up with either one of us, I don't mind. As long as those pathetic excuses for a kunoichi doesn't get him, were the thoughts of the Yuki, as she looked outside of the open window. And in that open window, the person of her affection appeared, wearing the biggest smile in the world. Era Naruto, you surely outdid yourself this time, she praised him as everyone else noticed the blonde. Of course the last one needed to be the biggest one, he replied before his classmates excitedly praised him for his work. I never knew you were that good as an artist, mate, Kiba told Naruto. You can't imagine how much I laughed once I saw it. Kiba was always the one most entertained by Naruto's antics. What can I say, Kiba? I'm just awesome, the blonde replied before laughing with his friend. As he jumped from the windowsill onto the desk of the sleeping Shikamaru, he decided to wake up his sleeping friend. Wake up, Shika. Today is the day we become ninjas, troublesome blondes. Why do you always have to be so damn loud, Naruto? His lazy friend sleepingly told him. As he rubbed his eyes he continued, did you not learn how to use a door? Pff. Who needs a door, when you can use a window? The blonde replied before the freshly arrived Kimimaro, from his place on the windowsill continued. Doors are for losers, One of the most important lessons Jiraiya gave the three kids during their childhood was to always use the window, if available. According to the Toad Sage, using a window made you look cool. Sometimes you are as troublesome as the idiot, Kimimaro, Shikamaru replied while rubbing his temples. Naruto would be the death of him, he just knew it. Shikamaru noticed that Naruto didn't look at him anymore. This unjust gaze was on Sasuke. No one truly could say what the two were. The only person Sasuke really spoke to on a regular basis was Naruto. He began opening up a little bit to his fellow classmates, but was still the arrogant asshole the Nara knew. Naruto would say that Sasuke was his friend, but Shikamaru didn't see it the same way. From his point of view, Sasuke used the blonde as a stepping stone to increase his power. If Naruto just wouldn't be as stubborn in his belief that Sasuke was his friend. The blonde was too much of a dreamer in his opinion. The Uchiha stared at Naruto with his usual brooding look, but if you looked closer, you would notice a joyful sparkle in his eyes. Impressive, wasn't it, Sasuke? Imagine painting something as the Hokage monument in a shinobi village. I'm just the best, the blonde bragged. He wasn't arrogant by any means, on the contrary he was pretty humble. Unless it concerned his stunts and pranks. The best of wasting your talent perhaps, Senju, came the light scolding of Sasuke. It was always like that. Naruto did something like that, and would in turn be scolded by the Uchiha for wasting his time and talent. And like always, Sasuke would let a cocky smirk on his face. I enjoyed it though. Pretty impressive, although I would have done a much better job. Of course Sasuke would never do something similar, it would be a waste of time in the Avengers' opinion. That was so cool, Naruto. You have to tell me all about your latest stunt. Let's grab something to eat, after we two become ninjas, Ino told her fellow blonde, while grabbing his arm to her chest. Ever since the arrival of Naruto and his friends, the Sasuke Uchiha fan club split into two, with the majority of Sasuke's fangirls switched onto Naruto. His friendly persona, skills and looks made him even more appealing to the girls than the ice block Sasuke, not that the Uchiha minded it too much. Ino Yamanaka was without a doubt his most persistent fangirl, with Sakura staying with her true love Sasuke. The blonde madly fell in love with the blonde, after he visited her family's flower shop. She never thought that she would meet a boy that loved flowers so much like Naruto did. Coupled with his personality and his looks, the blonde hair made him perfect in Ino's eyes. Naruto was her goal in life now. Thanks, Ino. But Naruto tried to turn the girl down, kind like usual. And like usual, the puppy eyes of a girl always made it impossible to turn down requests from girls. Damn you, grandma. Why did you raise me to be always polite to girls? Sometimes I wish I could be an asshole like Sasuke, the blonde cursed Tsunade. Ever since he was born, the Sannin and her apprentice drilled it into his head to always be nice to girls. Ino, the temperature of the room dropped noticeably. I sadly have to decline for Naruto here. I think he forgot that we already have something planned after the exam. The normally kind Haku spoke from her place next to Hinata in a sickly sweet voice. This scared nearly the entire class, especially the girls interested in Naruto. They all knew how protective she was of Naruto. Aside from Hinata, she didn't let any girl approach him. Ino wisely let go off Naruto, remembering the beating she received from Haku on her first day. Since then Haku defeated every single girl of the class, one more humiliating than the other. The only one spared of humiliation was Hinata. Damn that bitch, if only I would get to meet him without anyone around. With that, Naruto and Kimimaro moved over to Hinata and Haku. Like usual, the two girls saved them 2 seats in their row, and like usual, Kimimaro sat on Haku's right with Naruto sitting in between the two girls. Thanks for the safe, Haku. I'm really grateful, the Senju voiced his thanks. Think of nothing, Naruto. I just wished you would learn how to say no to them. Hey, that's not my fault. You girls are just so weird to deal with sometimes, came his reply, before noticing the mistake he made, as Haku looked at him with a very dangerous smile. Era, do you think I'm weird now? Of course not, came his hasty reply, as clutched onto Hinata. Sometimes he truly wished his oldest friend could be more like the sweet Hyuga in his arms. Said Hyuga was in a dream state. Naruto-kun hugs me, she thought with a flush. If it weren't for her friendship with Haku, she would surely have passed out by now. Deciding to help the boy of her affection, the one her clan wanted her to marry, she decided to save him. I don't think he meant you by that, Haku-chan. Naruto-kun just badly expressed himself. Yeah, that's right, Haku. I meant the other girls are weird. You and Hinata are the best. He quickly followed Hinata's explanation. As he saw Haku relax a little, he gave Hinata's hand a short squeeze to thank her, which deepened her flush. After that, Naruto grabbed Haku in a hug. I could never think badly about either one of my girls. Haku, while enjoying the closeness with her crush, blushed deeply at his comments. I can't stay mad at him. Your girls? She began, before giving her teasing smile to Hinata, who blushed even more at being called Naruto's girl. Say, why isn't she included into the hug? There is no need for that, Haku-chan. I perfectly. Before she could manage to stutter a reply, her crush also pulled her to him. Naruto-kun is so warm. If Hinata could be even redder, it wasn't humanly possible, especially after the smirk Haku gave her. All the while Kimimaro sat next to the three and asked himself, is he so dumb, or just obvious to their feelings? Not too long ago, he thought that the behavior of his two friends were just weird. But after reading Master Jiraiya's phenomenal Ika Ika books and several other romantic novels, his guilty pleasure, he was sure, Haku and Hinata had obvious crushes on his friend, who in turn was too obvious to notice it. He wondered, is there someone out there for me? Naruto saw the longing gaze of his friend. Thinking he felt uninvited, he began, do you also want to join in? Kimimaro looked at his friend, as if he was stupid. The death glares from both girls also didn't help to ease his mind. I'm fine, came his short reply. Before Naruto could dig further, the door opened and his two teachers entered the room. He quickly gave Iruka-sensei a big smile, which was kinda returned by the older man. As boring as his lessons were, he liked the scarred Chunin. He looked like a decent person. Plus they shared a like for ramen, especially the one from Ikaraku's. The two met up more than once at said ramen stand and formed a sort of friendship. His other sensei, Mizuki, was another story. Something bothered the senju about the white-haired man. He couldn't point it out, but he just didn't trust him. Jiraiya-sensei told him repeatedly that the ninja world was a dark place and people who had a slightly dark aura around them could be a good person. Kakashi was a great example of that, but still Naruto just didn't trust the other Chunin. As Iruka-sensei did not so kindly wake up the once again sleeping Shikamaru, Naruto focused on the upcoming graduation exam. Mizuki could wait till after them, but he would keep an eye on him. But now it was time to focus. His exam will begin shortly. June 27th, Academy Grounds afternoon. The emblem of the hidden leaf shined brightly on Naruto's forehead protector, which he wore the standard way. Of course he passed, and with flying colors too. He finished the written exam with a perfect score, finishing it mere 10 minutes after it started. His accuracy test got another 10 out of 10 scoreline, and he was the only one, aside from Kimimaro, to actually defeat Mizuki. He also passed the ninjutsu part of the exam with ease. His transformation jutsu was perfect. He chose to transform into his granduncle Tobirama. This surprised both of his teachers. They expected either Lord Minato or Lord Hashirama and not the second Hokage. Lord Tobirama, despite being the Hokage responsible for most of the infrastructure of the village and being the primary reason that Konoha didn't destroy itself in the first years of existence, he was often overlooked. The body replacement jutsu was easily performed by the blonde. The only noticeable thing about this was the fact that the blonde didn't need to perform a single hand sign. Naruto got extra points for his clone jutsu. He performed the water style, water clone jutsu instead of the normal one. What neither Proctor knew was that Naruto just didn't know how to perform normal clone jutsu. Neither Jiraiya nor Tsunade ever felt the need to teach him the useless technique. He currently was proudly smiling at his success, standing with both Kimimaro and Haku. Haku, like him, smiled her biggest smile possible and also wore her forehead protector around her forehead. Kimimaro also had the faintest smile on his lips. Unlike his two friends, he didn't have a classical forehead protector but rather a bandana-like one. He chose this version to cover his Kagaya markings and the style of his hair. Not wanting to give away the fact to which clan he belonged, with them stood Kakashi and the Hokage's son Asuma. Asuma was a tall man, with brown eyes, short black spiky hair, and a beard. He wore the standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway, flak jacket, regular shinobi sandals and forehead protector. He also wore a sash that had the kanji for fire marked on it around his waist, a pair of black bangles, and bandages wrapped around the arms of his sleeves. The three children met the Sarutobi during his time as one of 12 guardian ninja. If Kakashi was the cool older brother figure of the three, Asuma was the cool uncle who did all the cool stuff with the children. Since they moved to Konoha, Asuma took them fishing and built a treehouse with children. He also began to teach both Naruto and Haku the basics of wind transformation, as well as the basics of fire transformation to Kimimaro. The three loved Asuma and Asuma loved them. As Asuma and Kakashi praised the children, the Senju heir turned his gaze towards his classmates. He saw how proud Choji's, Ino's and Sakura's parents were at the graduation of their children. He also noticed how bored Shikamaru was when he was scolded by his mother for his poor score. His father just smiled at his son, obviously proud of his son. Shino also stood with his parents, and like always he couldn't read the aburames. But he was sure that Shibi was proud of his son. He also noticed and was a little bit surprised that Hinata's father was here, alongside little Hanabi. He met the Hyuga head a few times during the last year, and it was safe to say that he didn't like him one bit. How cruel must someone be, to treat someone as sweet and gentle as Hinata so harshly? But what truly surprised him was the fact that Hayashi smiled slightly at his daughter, even praising her a bit. He sadly didn't see Sasuke. Seems like the Uchiha already left. What a pity. He intended to invite his friend to the celebration. The Avenger didn't take it in a good way, that he was just ranked 4th among the class, behind Naruto, Haku and Kimimaro. What also didn't sit so well was the fact that the gap between him and both Shino and Hinata wasn't as big as he expected it. Naruto always noticed how Kiba got scolded by his mother for his poor performance. The Inuzuka just barely scraped a passing grade and his mother wasn't amused. Naruto would have laughed at the misfortune of his friend, if he wouldn't have noticed that Mizuki-sensei approached his friend. Earth to Naruto, Haku's voice took him back to reality. She was waving her hand in front of his face, trying to get his attention. He now noticed that Iruka-sensei arrived. They would now be complete for the celebration. Sorry Haku. I just spaced out, he quickly replied. Ma, little brother. A shinobi can't be so easily distracted, Kakashi teasingly scolded the blonde. Let him be Kakashi. Asuma joined in on the teasing as he lit up a cigarette. He's still a child after all. Watch who you call a child, Asuma. I'm a shinobi now just like you. I'm essentially an adult now, Naruto quickly replied. He hated it when the older shinobi called him a child. He was nearly 13 now. Adults don't paint the Hokage monument, Naruto. Iruka too decided to tease his favorite student. To be honest, Iruka and Naruto developed a brother-like relationship during the last year. It wasn't as deep of a connection as the one between Naruto and Kakashi. The blonde still trusted Iruka more than most. Vandalizing something important as the monument is something a child would do. Not fitting for someone who wants to become Hokage. He got you there, Naruto, Kimimaro voiced his thoughts. Before Naruto could defend himself, the group heard a loud growl. Could we please go to Yakiniku? I'm starving, a clearly embarrassed Haku chipped in. I guess we should, Asuma agreed with her. As they turned to leave, he saw Naruto smirking evilly at him, and Kakashi. Seeing the confused look of Asuma, Naruto explained it to the Jonin. It might not be Ikaraku's, but Yakiniku is still pretty good. I hope you and Kakashi have enough money on you. Neither Kimimaro nor me really ate today, and painting the Hokage monument makes me hungry. With that being said, the blonde grabbed the hands of his friends and walked towards the barbecue restaurant. As both Kakashi and Asuma noticeably gulped in fear for the money, Iruka merely smiled. Never change, Naruto, never change. As he and the superior Jonin left, Iruka could have sworn that he saw a little toad hopping towards Kiba. Must be my imagination. Chapter 12, Team Assignments, June 28th, Hokage Office. They did what? A loud, shrill voice echoed throughout the Hokage office. They stopped Mizuki stealing the Forbidden Scroll, Lord Hokage, came the sheepish reply of the female Anbu. The traitor convinced the young Inuzuka that he could improve his graduation grade if he could steal the scroll. But I've got to admit, it was rather impressive how he stole it. No one suspected the Nigen. Very impressive indeed, the old Hokage replied. The security, however, must be improved, Cat. A freshly graduated genin should never be able to evade our security like this. He sternly reprimanded his Anbu captain. Understood, Lord Hokage. Now how did Iruka end in the hospital? He tracked them down first. I must say, I'm intrigued how he did it. His tracking skill would be invaluable for the Anbu, the cat-masked woman replied. That's what happens when Naruto Senju is your student. Iruka was always talented in tracking, and as you know, tracking Naruto is excellent training. But Iruka loves teaching too much, Sarutobi answered her question. What a pity. But he proved himself to be an adoring teacher. Threw himself between the Fumashuriken of Mizuki and Inuzuka. Saved his life. They both were saved by Senju and Kagaya. They thankfully managed to find them in time. They are the purple-haired Kunoichi. Search for the right word. Strong. Stronger than the average genin, they are. Kimimaro and young Haku too have great talent. Pure talent comparable to Kakashi, his father Tsukumo or Mayasuma. The Hokage could feel the mild astonishment of his captain. Understandable. Kakashi is known to the whole shinobi world as our strongest jonin. Tsukumo, however infamous he may have become, was the top candidate to become the yandame, and Asuma, while not as famous as the others, belongs to our absolute elite, and was top of his academy class. And Senju? He is far more talented. I have never seen more talent in a child than I have seen in Naruto. Not in Orochimaru, not in Minato, and not in Itachi. July 1st, the academy. That was really stupid, Kiba. Even for your standards. What that's supposed to mean, Shino? I've got tricked, nothing more, came the reply from the hot-headed Inuzuka. How should I have known that Mizuki-sensei was a bad guy? I'm with Shino on this, Kiba. You should have realized that something was off. Why would Mizuki-sensei send you to steal the Forbidden Scroll, if he wasn't a bad guy? That was beyond stupid. Shikamaru ignored the interruption of his friend and continued. You are really lucky that Naruto and Kimimaro saved you. You could have gotten yourself and Iruka-sensei killed by your stupidity. I didn't think about that, Kiba thought to himself. Iruka-sensei could have died while trying to protect me. Me blindly believing a teacher nearly got my other teacher killed. It was a rather shocking realization for him. Mizuki played with his ego, which was hurt because of his rather bad final grade. It made it easy to manipulate him, and nearly ended his career as a shinobi before it even began. Seeing the downcast expression of his friend, Choji decided to chime in. Don't be too hard on yourself, Kiba. I would have believed Mizuki-sensei too. He was our teacher after all. He offered Kiba a chocolate bar and continued. I would have gone to Iruka-sensei or Shikamaru's dad before trying to steal the scroll, though. I doubt that you would have done that, Choji. He specifically told me not to ask for help to steal the scroll. I wouldn't have asked for help. I would have asked if this was usually done after graduation. Naruto always said that you should always question orders that you do not find logical or doesn't make any sense. And sending a genin to steal a scroll, which is highly protected, does absolutely not make any sense. Shino confirmed. So what did you say to make Naruto angry at you? Why do you think that? Naruto isn't angry at me. Then why does he keep his distance from you today, and why did Haku send you a death glare when they arrived? The Nara heir voiced his observations. When Naruto and the other two entered the room, the blonde did greet every one of his friends beside Kiba, and Haku sent the dog lover a look which could freeze hell. Not to mention that Kimimaro watches you as if you would try to hurt Naruto any minute. Considering that you are less emotionally mature than my 5-year-old cousin, you did say something troublesome. I might have said something bad to him after he lectured me about stealing the scroll and endangering not only the village, but also Iruka-sensei and myself, he replied, calling him an insufferable know-it-all. Not thanking him for his help and telling him that I had everything under control might have been too much, but he had no right to do it. He probably didn't mean it in a bad way. Naruto always has our backs, and he probably just wanted to make sure you would not be manipulated so easily again, Shikamaru admonished his friend. You better apologize to him. Having said his opinion, Shikamaru laid his head to take a small nap before the teams were assigned. Sadly for him, this was the exact moment Sakura and Ino decided to arrive, and as every morning, the two bickered again why Naruto was cooler, stronger, and a better future husband than Sasuke and vice versa. Troublesome. After getting essentially scolded by his friends, something he became used to in the recent days, Kiba brooded. He knew he messed up, especially after his mother scolded him for several hours for stealing the scroll. He also knew that Naruto only had his best interests at heart. His pride just wouldn't allow that. Sensing that his human was being stubborn again, Akamaru made a sound to get Kiba's attention. You think I'm being stupid too? Seeing the somewhat scolding look of his best friend, he muttered, yeah, I know that I messed up. I apologize soon. But before he could do that, the class's only teacher entered the room. As he looked at freshly graduated genin before him, he couldn't help but smile. The future of the leaf shines brightly, he thought to himself as he gazed at his former students. He caught the eyes of his favorite students and saw the concerned looks he got from Naruto and his 3 friends. To ease their minds, he gave them a small nod and smile, and saw the relief in Naruto's and Kimimaro's eyes, as well as the smiles of Hinata and Haku. Welcome back, everyone. Today is the day. Iruka stopped himself when he saw that no one was paying attention. I guess it's one last time, he thought fondly. Will you brats shut up? This got everyone quiet and focused on Iruka. I will definitely miss this. Now that I finally have your attention, I welcome all of you back. Today is the last time we will be in this constellation. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to teach you and tell you all that I am very proud of everyone here. Iruka smiled and received smiles in return from his former students. Even the otherwise stoic Shino, Kimimaru, and Sasuke let small smiles grace their faces. Now it is my duty to assign you all to your future genin teams. As you all know, you will be assigned to 4-man squads consisting of 3 genin and an assigned jounin sensei. Those jounin will be your teachers and team captains for the foreseeable future. The teams are the following. As Iruka started assigning teams, most new genin were anxious about their future teams. Most girls hoped for either Naruto or Sasuke, Choji prayed for Shikamaru, and so on. Team 7 will consist of Naruto Senju, Haku Yuki, and Kimimaru Kagaya. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Hearing this, our 3 protagonists were smiling brightly as Naruto raised his hands to receive the high fives of his friends. It couldn't be better for the 3. Not only did they have a great synergy to begin with, they also got Kakashi as their sensei. Team 8 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Karina Yuhi will be your jounin sensei. Kiba was now noticeably more relaxed, being paired with his friend Shino and Hinata, with whom he had a friendly relationship with. Thank Kami, it's either Sakura or Sasuke. While Hinata was a little down after not being on the same squad as Naruto, she didn't expect to be on the same team as Haku, as most teams only had one kunoichi. Hearing that she would team up with Kiba and Shino made her smile. While Kiba and her weren't close, they never butted heads, and she would admit that Shino was the person she was closest to in the class till Haku arrived. Shino's thoughts were more simple. Hinata's Byakugan, Kiba's sense of smell, and my bugs. Our team is supposed to become a specialized tracking team. This didn't change the fact that he as well was rather happy about being teamed up with 2 of his friends. He was a little skeptical about his sensei though. As far as he knows, Karina Yuhi was a specialist in genjutsu, and his team wasn't designed that way. Maybe she is skilled in tracking? Team 10 will consist of Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Shuji Akimichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. How troublesome. We're now expected to live up to our father's legacy. Looking at his 2 teammates, one crying how unfair life is to be separated from her Naruto, and the other munching his snacks without a care in the world. Tough time for Asuma-sensei. At least we got the Hokage's son as our sensei. That ought to be interesting. Why do I have to be teamed up with those lazy buns? Wailed the blonde Yamanaka while glancing at the object of her affection. It's so unfair. I should be with my Naruto and not that bitch, she thought while glaring at Haku, who didn't seem to notice it while she apparently teased Hinata. At least I've got Shika and Choji. As lazy as they are, it could be worse. The last member of Team 10 was happy that he got paired up with Shikamaru and Ino, but he wasn't surprised. After all, Shikamaru predicted it, and Shikamaru was always right. Maybe she finally notices me the way I want to be noticed, he thought while stealing a glance at his childhood friend while blushing. Seeing her looking in the direction of his friend Naruto, however, put his thoughts to rest. It didn't make him mad though. He knew that Naruto had no interest in Ino, so there would still be a chance for him. Fuck my life. That was the exact thought going around through Sasuke's head, once he realized that Sakura Haruno would be on his team. Why does it have to be her, he thought. As annoying as she is, Ino Yamanaka at least came from a ninja clan. She wasn't completely useless, and ever since Naruto arrived, she was off his back. The self-proclaimed Avenger turned his gaze to his what was Naruto actually to him. He was the closest thing to a friend he had, but he wouldn't go that far. He did not need a friend, nor did he want one. He might respect the blonde, trained regularly with him, and only his opinion mattered to him. Turning his gaze towards the two kunoichi next to the blonde, he knew what Naruto was. A rival to surpass, the shinobi he respected the most in Konoha, and the person he disliked the most. Naruto simultaneously had everything Sasuke lost and all that he wanted. Team 11 will be composed of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Sai Kurusu. Your appointed Jounin sensei will be Genma Shirani. Yash! True love will conquer everything. Those were the words Sakura shouted at the top of her lungs. Take that, Ino pig. Unlike you and your precious Naruto, Sasuke and I will be on the same team, go on the same missions where he will rescue me and proclaim his undying love for me. She couldn't stop swooning and imagine the soon-to-be blossoming love the Uchiha would have for her. The last member of the team was a rather pale-looking boy with raven hair and black hair. He wore a simple black short-sleeved shirt and long black shinobi pants. On his face was a rather fake-looking smile, and like usual he was ignored by everyone. Just like you planned, Master. Unbeknown to him, he wasn't unnoticed by all. A very lazy, ponytailed genius had his eyes on him. He, like everyone else, paid Sai no mind. Sai wasn't anything special. He was just an average student. But ever since Naruto mentioned his fake smile, he couldn't help but notice things. That fake smile, the average performance not unlike his, and the subtle glances at both Sasuke and Kimimaro, and to a lesser degree Naruto and Haku. What is your secret? After Irika finished the assignment and left the room, the team's new senseis quickly arrived to gather their new team. Every team but the one of a certain Scarecrow. Why am I not surprised that he would even keep us waiting, Naruto mentioned, slightly infuriated to his two friends after waiting 15 minutes for their sensei. Was there any doubt about that, Naruto? Haku smiled at her crush. Kakashi is always late. We should have expected to wait after knowing he would become our sensei. You know how he is. She touched Naruto's arm as he calmed down. Before Naruto could reply, Kimimaro decided to chime in. How about Ichiraku? If Kakashi makes us wait, we can do it too. The other two agreed to his proposition and headed out to Ichiraku as Naruto could already taste the food of gods. 67. Chapter 13. Introducing Team 7. July 1st. The Academy post-lunch. Where the hell is he? That loud voice belonged to our blonde hero. It has been nearly 3 hours since the teams were assigned from Irika. In that time frame, Team 7 managed to go to Ichiraku, eat their lunch and be back. Yet there was still no sign of their Jounin sensei Kakashi. Calm down, Naruto. You know how Kakashi is. We should have expected to wait this long, Haku replied, but unlike before lunch, Kakashi's tardiness started to get even on her nerves. Sometimes you can really forget that he is Konoha's top Jounin with his constant lateness. I wonder if it's the same with normal missions. As his two teammates and best friends continued to bicker about their new sensei, Kimimaro was calmly sitting down reading his new book. He, like the other two, had hoped for Kakashi to be their Jounin. Unlike his other teammates, however, he prepared himself in advance, and brought his new book along to read. I have to thank Konohamaru's mother for her recommendation. This really is a great read, he thought to himself before Haku's waving hand got his attention. Huh, I finally have your attention, Kimi. Considering how indulged you were in your book, I guess you missed my question. Haku asked her teammate. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry, Haku, the Kagaya apologized to his female friend. Noticing how Naruto stared at him as if he had grown a second head, he asked his friend, what do you need, Naruto? Nothing. I just can't fathom why you are so indulged in those books you read. Naruto replied. He never could understand his friend's love for his books. The books I read are masterfully crafted stories in which I can fully immerse myself. They are a wonderful escape from the stressful life of being your friend Naruto, he told his friends. He was of course only teasing his blonde friend. As annoying as his blonde friend could be, he wouldn't trade him in for anyone else. Mastercraft stories, my ass. This is probably some Ika trash that Ero-sensei now writes. Kimimaro was a little angry at hearing Naruto insult Jiraiya's masterworks. In Kimimaro's mind, the Ika series were brilliantly written masterpieces with no flaws that everyone should read at least once in his life. To insult Master Jiraiya's work is straight up blasphemy. Listen, Naruto, first of all, the Ika series of Master Jiraiya are masterpieces. Before he could continue with his speech, the room immediately got noticeably colder. Oh shit, were the thoughts in his head as he noticed the sickly sweet smile on his female friend's face. As he knew, Haku absolutely despised the Ika series and remembered the time where he foolishly admitted to reading and enjoying those masterpieces, shortly after arriving in Konoha. She can be very precise with her senbons, before noticing two hands on his shoulders. Turning his head to look at the person that was using him as a shield against the angry kunoichi, his eyes turned wide as he saw that it was really Naruto, who was hiding behind him, used him as protection against their mutual friend. Thus one of their silent conversations occurred. Why are you hiding behind me? You know how scary she can be if she's angry, Naruto communicated back with his eyes. It was a technique they both learned from the Toad Sage to communicate with each other. Jiraiya in turn invented this method with his former teammate, as both of them managed to piss off Tsunade on a nearly daily basis. Before Kimimaro could reply that he had nothing to fear of her, even though it was his fault that she was angry, Haku instead asked in her sickly sweet voice, could you please repeat that, Kimi? Did you really just say that the newer books of Master Jiraiya are not trashy porn but instead masterpieces of literature? Don't lie, Kimimaro. Please don't lie to her. You know she just will only get even more pissed if you do that, Naruto begged silently. The both of them learned more than once that lying to a pissed Haku, especially if she speaks in that sickly sweet voice of her. Thankfully Kimimaro was smart, and just meekly nodded his head. Then please explain to me how those disgusting and smut-ridden books could be anything but trash. Trash that should be gathered from all around the shinobi world and burned on a big pile. Please elaborate, Kimi, she provoked him to say something wrong. Before Kimimaro could find a reply that would not get her even angrier, a new voice chimed in from the door, which was opened unbeknown to the three new genin. Well, the Ika Ika series is known for having excellent writing, the freshly arrived Kakashi explained. Ignoring the angry face of Haku that was now turned to him, he continued, the sex scenes are very well described to the last detail, and Master Jiraiya is an artist when it comes to the dialogue, he said without a care in the world. Naruto, seeing the opportunity to direct Haku's anger towards his big brother figure, who totally deserved it in his opinion, shouted, "You're late, sensei." As Haku's anger towards Kakashi's lateness was bigger than her anger at Kimimaro's love for the Ika Ika series, she continued, for 3 hours, might I add. There is no reason to be late for 3 hours while not sending word to us that you will be late. And no, reading the worst book series in the world is not a valid reason to be this late. Haku chewed into her new sensei. I swear if he made us wait to read this smut I will freeze his balls. Mama, my cute little kunoichi, Kakashi carelessly answered, there was a good reason for me being late. Is it another lame excuse of yours? The Kagaya asked his new sensei with a deadpan look. Well, you see, I was on my way to gather you here at the academy, and I would have been on time if there wasn't an emergency. An emergency, sensei? Naruto asked while sharing a look with his two teammates. Yes, an emergency. While I walked up to the academy I encountered an old lady who needed help getting her groceries. As the great human being that I am, I of course decided to help the nice old lady and decided to get the groceries myself. On my way to the store though I saw how a building crashed down with innocent children inside. After Kakashi finished his tale of rescuing children from the building, helping in gathering the rubble as well as getting the groceries to the old lady, after having to take a huge detour because he saw a black cat, his team has heard enough to realize that he had told them another lie. Another lie! Could be loudly heard from the three genins while Naruto elaborated. Stop it, sensei. You've told enough tales to us to recognize your tales. Kakashi just gave them his signature I smile. You three are just not hip and cool enough to understand me. Completely ignoring the angry look on Naruto's and Haku's face as well as Kimimaro's deadpan expression, he continued, meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Don't be late. He waved and disappeared with a body flicker jutsu. As much as I love him, he sometimes gets on my nerves. I can understand that his life as a top jounin can be tough, but coming 3 hours late, and then having the gall to tell us not to be late is just. Haku raved as her three teammates quietly shared her opinion. You have to admit though, that jutsu was lit. I hope he teaches it to us, Naruto said as he moved ahead to the rooftop. Before Kimimaro could follow his blonde friend, Haku stopped him. Remembering the conversation they had just before the arrival of Kakashi, he started sweating. As he moved to explain himself, Haku started. Don't worry, Kimi. I know that it wasn't one of Master Jiraiya's books you were reading. I have read that particular book myself, and it's really good, isn't it? She smiled at Kimimaro, who couldn't help but to let out a sigh of relief. Haku however leaned to his ear and dangerously whispered, but I promised to Lady Kami. Should you read those books to my Naruto or convince him to read them, I will freeze your balls. Seeing the usually stoic Kagaya nervously nod, she gives him her friendly smile. Good that we understand each other. Before skipping out of the door and calling after her crush, wait for me, Naruto, Kimimaro got out of his stupor. There are few things in life that truly scared him, but an angry Hakuyuki was definitely one of them. Seeing his female friend next to his blonde friend, clutching Naruto's arm with hers as well as the blonde's waiting gaze, he followed. It's impressive how fast she can switch moods. Are you alright, Kimi? You look pale. Well, paler than usual, his male friend asked Kimimaro. I'm fine. Don't worry, he replied as Team 7 started their way onto the rooftop. July 1st Academy rooftop. Seeing his three cute little genin appear before him on the rooftop, he closed his orange book and placed it into his pocket. He didn't miss the glare Haku sent his precious book. I would not be surprised if she would end up hating Master Jiraiya's books even more than Kushina did. As he saw Haku still clutching onto his little brother's arm, he couldn't help but wonder. She surely will, should she ever discover her and Naruto being used as inspiration for a new book in the near future. Just like Sensei and his wife were. You're not having perverted thoughts again, have you, Sensei? His blonde student interrupted his thoughts. You really need a girlfriend. Oh, I'm quite happy being single, Naruto. I also do not have perverted thoughts. How could you think that about me? he lazily answered his brother figure. Maybe because you openly read Master Jiraiya's books, sensei, the only female around answered his rhetorical question with a strained voice. Or maybe because you are the third most perverted person we know. I do not know if I should feel more attacked for being called a pervert or curious, who might be the second most perverted person they know. Admitting to himself that he was indeed slightly perverted, however not to the level Haku and the others might think of him, he asked his new teamo. I'm a little curious, who is the second most perverted person you know? He didn't receive an answer to that question. He just saw Kimimaro turning his head towards the Hokage building. Lord Hokage is one of Master Jiraiya's biggest fans that I know of. Clearing his voice well as entertaining as this was, we're not here to talk about who might be a pervert and who might not be. We're here because we are assigned as Team 7 and will work together from now on. The first thing we are going to do will be to introduce ourselves to each other. What do you mean, sensei? The three of us grew up together, and you know us since we were children. You have known me since my birth. Why do we need to introduce ourselves? Naruto asked, and both of his teammates nodded their heads, showing their similar confusion. That might be true, but this is customary. It doesn't need to be something elaborate. Just take mine for example. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I like many things. I dislike a lot of other things, and my dream is not something I will share with you now. Ignoring the deadpan expressions of his new students, he turned to Kimimaro, expecting the Kagaya to introduce himself. Just like in the heads of his two comrades, Kimimaro too thought that Kakashi's introduction was underwhelming to say the least. I guess I can't just say the same things as you did? Seeing his new sensei smiling with his only visible eye, Kimimaro just sighs. This is so stupid, but he started nonetheless. Name is Kimimaro Kagaya. My likes are reading books, fighting and shogi. Dislikes are slavers and dogs, I guess. I never really thought about a dream, but I wouldn't mind a world where only criminals would be caged. As Kimimaro introduced himself, Kakashi analyzed his words. I'm not surprised that he would mention his love for books or shogi. It would be a shame if someone that talented hated the game. As calm as Kimimaro is, I guess even he has at least some of the bloodlust of his clan. His fears of dogs is new to me, but not all that surprising considering his bloodline limit. If I remember correctly, the Inuzuka clan was vital in the second war against Kiri, as they were well suited to fighting the Kagayas. I should be able to cure this with Pakin's help though. His dislike for slavers and a dream of a world without innocent people caged is also new to me but understandable. He might never have said anything, but this only confirms Lady Tsunade's assumption of his treatment prior to being found by Master Jiraiya. You really dislike dogs? Naruto asked his friend. Don't tell me you're scared of them too. Yes to both of your questions. It's a little embarrassing, you know. But I don't have to show you why I'm slightly scared of them, do I? He of course referred to his bone-related ability. I would have never guessed that, Kimi. You never appeared to be scared of Akamaru. At least not lately. Maybe a bit at first, but I never gave it any thought before. Haku added her perspective. Like all rules, there are certain exceptions. Akamaru is one. I have spent enough time around him to know that I'm safe around him. Doesn't change my fear of unknown dogs though, he answered in a small voice towards the end. This is so embarrassing. Not liking the attention he received from the rest of the team, the usually stoic Kagaya asked with a slight blush, can we please continue? Deciding to show mercy and not tease her blushing teammate, Haku made herself ready to introduce herself. She gave him a sly look though, that promised a lot of teasing in the future, and from the reaction her friend gave her, he knew that there would be no mercy for him. I finally got something on you. As you all know, I'm Hakuyuki and I hope that you continue to take care of me. She started her introduction with her smile that would turn the heads of every boy close to her age. Every boy besides the boy you want to turn the head of, a small voice in her head told her, which she chose to ignore. My likes include cinnamon rolls, learning about medical ninjutsu and reading romantic novels. Noticing the hurt look on Naruto's face, she resumed while patting his cheek. Era is someone jealous. Don't worry. Spending time with my boys and Hinata are my second most favorite things in the world. That and teasing Hinata Fufu. Naruto, however, was not satisfied with this answer. What could she possibly like more than spending time with me, Kimimaro and Hinata? And your favorite thing in the world? He asked. Haku stopped her giggling. Given the looks Kimimaro and Kakashi gave her, she guessed that they knew what she liked more than anything else. I just wished it was obvious that you are my favorite thing in the world, Naruto. But instead of being down, she decided to tease him. It's rather obvious what it is, Naruto. Sensei and Kimi pieced it together with ease. Seeing Naruto getting even more confused by that and getting a little frustrated as either of their teammates would tell him what it was, Haku leaned in and whispered in his ear it's a secret, before giving him a smile and turned away. He's so cute when he is confused like that. Naruto was indeed very confused and his face showed it. If Haku's eyes would have stayed on his face a little bit longer, she would have seen the slight blush on her crush's face. After all, she had given him a smile that Naruto knew was only reserved for him, and never failed to make him blush. Damn her ability to tease like that. Kakashi observed it all with his patented eye smile. To be young again. I wonder where got his denseness from though. From what I've been told, Sensei knew from the moment he saw her, that Kushina would become his wife. The copycat ninja thought before returning to think about what Haku said about her likes. Nothing surprising here. Just a typical young girl with friends and a crush on her childhood friend. Haku resumed her introduction. My dislikes. Well, obviously perverts. She gave her sensei a pointed look at that, and Kakashi would lie if he would say that it didn't scare him, even if it was only a little, as well as most girls of our class. And that arrogant piece of crap, she finished with a slight scowl. Kakashi decided to intervene, and made his thoughts known for the first time. I'm not surprised that you dislike perverts, even if I wonder why you looked at me when you mentioned it. He stopped to take the slight scowl of her, and the face-bound expression of the boys directed at him. I also expected your dislike of most of your female classmates. Essentially all of us wanted either you or Hinata Hyuga on their squad with the exception of Asuma. I think you all can guess why. To which all his genin nodded. But who is the last person you spoke of? Hinata's cousin Niji. He is a year older, and just the worst. Sasuke is an arrogant bastard, but at least he isn't outright cruel. Haku began her rant about Hinata's older cousin Niji, the top genin of the year above them. I don't get why he is so cruel to her. Hinata is the sweetest and gentlest person I know, and nice to everyone. And don't get me started on that fate crap he spouts. Don't remind me about that nonsense, Naruto groaned. He too despised the Hyuga. Probably more than anybody he met thus far. I don't get how such a cunt is on the same team as Lee and Gai-sensei. They are super nice when you get past all of their weirdness. What does Lee see in him to label him as his rival? Kimimaro tore Naruto out of his thoughts. I want to break his arms. One could tell his opinion on Hinata's cousin if you were to look upon his face. Like his two friends, Kimimaro disliked Niji Hyuga, and there was nothing more he would like to do than break the Hyuga's arms. Even if he knew that it was wrong. Well, your student has made some powerful enemies, Guy, Kakashi thought. I hope your dislike of him will not be a hindrance. However low your opinion of him might be, he is a comrade, and your disposition should not hinder your ability to perform well and cooperate on possible missions with him. Are we clear? He told them in a stern voice. After getting confirmation of his team, he gave them his signature smile. Good. Separating your private feelings from your mission is vital to becoming a good shinobi. I'm proud that you three already understand this. Kakashi received smiles, or in Kimimaro's case a nod in return for his words. To finish this off, your dream, Haku? Haku didn't need to think too long about that. Firstly, I want to become the role model kunoichi for future generations to look up to. Just like Shusho is for mine. Secondly, I eventually wish to surpass even her in the field of medical ninjutsu and medicine in general. And thirdly, I wish to start a family with Naruto. Her last wish was only said in her head, but it might be her most important one. Naruto and Kimimaro knew about her goals. They just smiled at her in support. Kakashi, however, had his thoughts that some good goals to have. With her talents in the shinobi arts, especially in medical ninjutsu, they aren't even unrealistic. He gave her a smile in support before indicating for Naruto to finish this introduction round. The blonde smiled happily before starting with his introduction. My name Naruto Senju. My likes are obviously my friends, ramen, gardening and reading The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Ninja, the only good book Ero-sensei ever wrote. He finished his listing off his favorite things while giving both Kimimaro and Kakashi pointed looks. I dislike people who badmouth others behind their backs, bullies, and Naruto took a deep breath. Spiders. That's not funny, stop laughing, he yelled at the chuckling Kakashi and Haku while blushing from embarrassment. And my dream is to create a world without war, he finished while looking at the carved faces of the past Hokages. I thought your dream was to become Hokage Naruto, Kimimaro asked his blonde friend. Yeah. I have known you for half of my life, but this is the first time you ever said that you dreamed of a world without war. Do you not wish to be Hokage anymore? Haku voiced her question. Ever since meeting and living with the blonde, he always talked about how becoming Hokage was his goal. Seeing that, Kakashi gave him a look that said please explain, and hearing his friends ask their questions, he elaborated. I do wish to become Hokage one day. The greatest to ever be, but that's not my dream. It's more a goal or duty to become Hokage. Seeing the confused look at stating that becoming Hokage was his duty, he pointed at Hokage Monument. Look, my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-uncle, the third was taught by the first and second too and ruled the Senju way, just like my father did in his short reign. Naruto turned back to his friends, who in turn stared at him in a new light. It was our clan that came up with the idea of this village, our clan who built this village. This village has been ruled in the way our clan would rule since its founding. I feel obligated to make sure that Konoha continues on this path since it's the legacy of the greatest ninja clan this world has ever seen. And being Hokage helps you accomplish your dream of a world without war? Seeing his friend nodding, Kimimaro continues, what exactly do you mean by creating a world without war? I mean a world where no parents will have to bury their children. A world where children will have a childhood and not be sent to their death in some meaningless war. Naruto touched his stomach and put his hand above his seal. A world where people like Rashi and me are not needed anymore, he continued, eyes downcast. A world similar to the one envisioned by the utterly gutsy ninja. Kakashi stared at his sensei's son. Like his two other students, he too was stunned by Naruto's proclamation. He of course had read his favorite author's first ever book, and while he didn't dislike it, he wasn't as big of a fan as his sensei or his blonde students were. Still, he admired the optimism of the protagonist even if his dreams seemed pretty unrealistic to him. Minato-sensei believed that a world proposed in that book was possible, and now hearing his son state his dream with that conviction, he may become a believer too. Before Kakashi could say anything, Naruto spoke up. I know my dream sounds crazy. But I think dreams should sound crazy, otherwise they wouldn't be dreams. Dreams are supposed to be crazy or unrealistic. Still, I will crave my dream till the very end. I won't give up on this. I will never give up. That's my ninja way. Just believe in me. Kimimaro was rather surprised by his friend's words. Unlike his two friends, he was a realist opposed to his dreamer friends. He of course knew that Naruto wanted to become Hokage, and that sounded to him like a realistic goal. Naruto, after all, had the talent, the conviction and the name to become Hokage. He just didn't expect to hear that he wished to use the position to create a peaceful world. It sounded crazy, unrealistic and plain impossible, but still deep down inside of him he knew that if anyone could achieve such an impossible feat, it would be Naruto. He of course would be at his side, fighting with him to achieve that world. Naruto was his brother in all but blood, and yet they couldn't be closer. He would follow the blonde to the bitter end and nobody would stop him. Haku was as flashed as Kimimaro was. Unlike her white-haired friend, she was a dreamer, just like her crush. In a world without war, she would have more time conducting research. Research that she could use to create new medicine, maybe even find cures for every sickness in the world. The world Naruto dreams of was very appealing to a kind soul like her. She overheard Master Jiraiya once telling Shirsho that she might be too kind to be a kunoichi, and she wouldn't disagree with that. She considered herself to be more of a medic than a soldier after all. It sounded crazy, but she just knew that Naruto could archive this world. She knew he could achieve everything, if he put his mind onto it. She would of course support her crush. There was never any doubt about that. Kakashi didn't know what to think. Too startled was he at the conviction Naruto proclaimed his crazy dream. Too much has happened in his life for him to be able to dream of such a peaceful world. A peaceful world where all who mattered to him would still be alive. Yet he could swear he saw Minato-sensei standing behind his son, proudly smiling at him. The Jounin couldn't help but remember his sensei confidently stating that his son would one day surpass himself and change the shinobi world. Deep down in Kakashi a small flame of hope sparked. A hope that his little brother would succeed in this mad dream of his. Well, that's quite the conviction you have in your dream, Naruto, Kakashi began and got the attention back onto him. You will need it for your final test tomorrow. What do you mean with final test, sensei? We graduated already and are genin, aren't we? Why would we need to take another test? Haku quickly asked her sensei with her two teammates nodding frankly. Well, there is actually another test you must pass to become a proper ninja. The academy graduation exam is rather easy, wouldn't you agree? Passing that test only allows you to take the real final exam. A final exam to weed out the weak and unsuited for this type of work. Seeing his genin still being rather calm, he decided to drop a small bomb. Did I already tell you that only a third of the teams actually passed this test? This instilled a little bit of fear in them, but they were still confident. So what does it matter if only a third pass? We are the 3 top-rated students of this year. This test will be a cakewalk for us, Naruto confidently stated. That's the spirit, Kakashi stated with his eye smile. I'm sure you will do better than my previous 4 teams. This got them wide-eyed. What do you mean with previous teams? Kimimaro asked Kakashi with wide eyes. You never told us something about having a genin team. There was no need to tell you anything, the copycat cheerfully answered. After all, not one of them passed my test. But don't worry about that. You're more talented than them combined, and if you prove you aren't. He chuckled to himself seeing their slightly scared faces. You will be excluded from the shinobi program. I always loved doing this, he thought to himself when he saw the 3 scarred. Our test will begin tomorrow at 6 in the morning at training ground 7. Don't be late. As he prepared to leave his cute little genin, he gave them one final piece of advice. I would recommend you skip breakfast tomorrow. You will not be able to keep it in during our test, he cheerfully told them and left via the body flicker jutsu. What if Naruto fused with tobirama power? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.